2, 1. What's up, guys?
What
What's
up?
up, Noah?
Thank you for coming down. It is awesome to see you guys again.
Yeah, thanks
So
for
great
having
to
us.
see you.
Love your hat.
Thank
the
you.
Own the Day hat.
Of course, repping.
Frankie's a homie. Had him
Yeah.
on the podcast, I think, like 3 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. It was a pleasant surprise running into the both of you at the Band of Enchantment at the chemo, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun time.
That was a very fun time. I was trying to think today who the opening band was, or like not the opening, but like the first band was, but they were amazing.
Was it Girl Ultra wasn't first, huh? Or was
That
it?
doesn't sound right.
No, it was
Well, I know the Sons of Harvard were last.
yeah, Sons of Harvard.
Yeah, and
I
those
can't think of who's first.
those are my homies.
Yeah.
So, and I went originally to see them, but the opener was great.
Yeah.
That was just a really cool production. I'd never been there before.
Yeah, it was cool.
That was the shit.
It
and
was so great.
I've seen your music shared around Instagram, but the first person to really sing your praises to me was Amanda
Yeah.
from the Red Light Cameras.
Oh,
I
she's
love
great.
her.
Yeah, she is amazing. I was like, okay, well, if it's got her seal of approval, I got to check out your music.
Yeah.
You are so fucking talented.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from Amanda, who has like vocal cords of gold.
Seasonings.
And she just makes it look so fucking effortless. She's just belting, and her runs and the texture of her voice.
Her voice lacks no seasonings.
It's like
It's got all the
it's got all the
spices
flavor.
and textures and things that you need.
Yeah, and she's just like the beauty of her personality like matches her like outer beauty and the beauty of her voice. She's just like one of those people that I just love being in her space, and she's just always so kind.
Extremely talented and extremely
Yeah.
hardworking.
Absolutely.
Which is the type of person you want to associate yourself like we were talking about a little beforehand.
Right.
And before we dive into the music, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, the relationship you have with one another, I just think it's lay a little groundwork what we're going to talk about here.
I love it.
Go ahead, wordsmith.
Me first? I'm Clarq. I am a singer, songwriter, learning production from this guy, my sensei. But I've been singing all of my life. I wrote my first song when I was like 6, and I just love music. So that's just been my journey, living life and fitting in my passion whenever and wherever I can. And yeah, that's me, Clarq.
I'm Scotty. M. Scott Loves Life, as most know. I've been the CEO of a couple creative companies, but currently the CEO of Better Sense. Producer, songwriter, engineer.
Billboard Top 100 songwriter.
No, I'm a #1 songwriter.
No,
You can't say top 100.
can't say top
Don't include
100 when you're
99
number
when I went
one,
number
right?
one. No, I went #1. Me and a couple of my good friends from this here fine city. But yeah, man, I'm like I'm the glue. You may not see me, but I'm making stuff stick.
That's awesome. No, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I like that you wear that with honor.
For
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the biggest like R&B fan. It's not
Yeah.
typically what I'll throw on my shuffle, but
Yeah.
you're Hard Eyes.
You like
EP.
hard eyes.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, man, that was a journey because
Yeah.
we're life partners first of all.
Oh yeah, you did say about our connection.
So
we gotta,
yeah, our connection is. Well, I guess I'll keep it PG.
Like, how
we're
far back we
romantic.
going here?
We're romantic partners, but our musical journey started off like kind of just. I always say I redshirted her. Just like you got to write a lot of songs until you realize that you're writing shitty songs, and then you start writing good songs.
I'm going through that long stage maturity right now with comedy. So
You know?
I feel that.
No, real.
I feel that.
So,
Yeah, that was-
and when she kind of got to a place where she felt really like comfortable and not needing so much like guidance, it was kind of when Hard Eyes happened. We had a couple songs here and there, and then some of those good songs that were in that midst of shitty songs stayed on the project. But it was the first time that I had ever fully produced an EP for a female singer. So that was really fun, Like I love the neo soul, I love the R&B, but it's normally like dudes trying to like get the softer side of their rapper persona, out the gate. And for her, it was just like a home run for me because I was like finally getting to do stuff that like I listen to all the time.
Right.
I don't really listen to a lot of like rap, like I really don't. I'm like a jazz head. I listen to a lot of like Caribbean
Metal.
music, a lot of metal. Honestly, bro, bring back '06, please. Like, you know, like real talk, yeah. Like my biggest influence as far as how music makes people feel, and especially me feel, is like metal and jazz.
I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today.
Straight up, you know.
That's awesome.
Like I've cried at metal shows because I'm just like, why is my face melting? You know, and I'm sure you can relate to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that's my shit.
Yeah. Hard Eyes, I just wanted to piggyback off of that because Hard Eyes was so special. It came after, we released Phone Off. That was like my first single.
Feel free to
And-
continue. I'm just going to check the cameras.
Yeah, for sure. And so after Phone Off was Hard Eyes, and that was the one where it was just like I was writing some songs, and I wasn't sure if I was like digging deep enough. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure if I was like saying the things like truly from my heart, and so with those songs, I think that's what resonated with Scott, because he produced every single song on Hard Eyes. I co-produced Fallen, but everything else was Scott. Obviously, I work on the arrangement and everything like that. But yeah, I think that's what resonated. It was like, oh, these, I can feel these.
Right.
I can feel that you believe like what you're serenading me with. I can feel where this is coming from, and I think that was what was so special about that. It's not, I'm getting better and better every day, so they're not, maybe technically like my best songs, but they're so heartfelt.
Right.
So that's what really makes that project so special.
And truly, that was kind of the philosophy that we tapped into as far as even like Better Since the brand, which is relatively new also, which is like, it doesn't have to sound like what people may think is good. We just have to be able to feel it. Like if I don't feel it, what's the point?
No matter what
You
it
know?
sounds like.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't feel it.
Like I'm like the anti-industry guy. Like even out of college, with my music degree, I drove to LA and, shacked up with 4 other dudes making music in a 1 or 2 bedroom house and turned down deals and wrote for plenty of people, but like, fuck the industry. Like that's always how I felt. And I think that's why I never really got a placement until it was overseas, because I was always trying to like throw in shit that wasn't like typical, and it like typically it was my section that they were like, ooh, could you make it sound more like this person that's already popping, you know? And I'm
Studio
like,
notes.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for her, especially with Hard Eyes, like it was a project that I felt like people will receive it like, oh my God, this is so mainstream. It feels so mainstream. But I think from a subject matter, it was the opposite of what was already circulating. People aren't really talking about love no more. People aren't really like talking about where they actually are mentally and, I guess emotionally in their relationships as much.
That's interesting that you put it that way. Why do you think that is from people that actively make music?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that? Because love in how to word this properly, love in music has become kind of tropey,
Right.
right? Borderline outdated
Yeah.
in the traditional sense, I guess. Why do you think that is?
I think that it's a lot of, if you don't mind me
Yeah.
taking this one, I think it's because
Feel free to bring the mic like closer to you if you need to. Like, feel free to fuck with the boom
Okay,
arm
for
and all
sure.
that stuff. Yeah.
it's like I think it's like a desensitization, I think I think division is something that is going to destroy us if we let it. And if we're not singing about love and we're not singing about things or rapping about things that are like going to bring us closer to love, then obviously the latter is division, And like there's a lot of cats out here like gun toting and rapping about what they're doing with these guns or whatever, videos full of guns, whatever. Like why? You know what I mean? Like if I've asked homies, I've had clients in my studio, I'm like, oh man, well, what'd they do? Like, well, why? Like, why is that your op? And oh man, yeah, they can't really give me an answer.
Because it's a catchphrase or it's like a clicky word that they've heard on
Exactly.
social
You
media.
know what I mean?
And
Like
they want to act like everybody
it's
else.
it's cool to be a gangster until you get shot, you know?
Sure.
Like I've shot myself in the hand trying to, you know, not maintaining my own emotional balances. So it's like that shit is not fucking funny. That shit is not fun and it's not cool. It's corny.
But there is a certain energy that's harvested off of that darkness and that division and that. Don't get me wrong, like you should dig deep. And there's people that are singing about it and rapping about it because they've actually lived it. And I
Right.
don't want to, cheapen those experiences and those
100%.
circumstances,
Well,
right?
people
We
know who you're
understand
talking
that.
about when you're
But-
saying instances like that.
Yes.
Like, hey, explain the experience you yourself are rapping about, and they're
Right.
like,
Well,
Right.
yeah,
well,
exactly.
you know, because I think what comes to mind immediately with authenticity, with that style and that that style of music, is I remember where I was when "This Is America" came out by Childish Gambino.
Right.
Like, that is one of my personal favorite, like
So good.
whether you call it rap, hip hop,
And
there
he's
is
the
some
GOAT.
R&B in there. Like that is one of my favorites. He's not even one of my favorite rappers, but that is
Yeah.
one of my favorite songs in that genre
Right.
of all fucking
100%,
time.
bro. Because he's doing something very deliberate, I think, with his art, and that's like being overt in a cryptic way. You know, like that's just how it comes off to me. Like he's always kind of been like different enough to appeal to people that I don't know, man. Like he's kind of just separated himself. He's like a Post Malone to me. Like you can't call him a rapper, you know?
Yeah, it's genreless.
Right.
Like really, there's soul, there's funk, there's jazz, there's the hip hop notes, it's like
And-
alternative R&B.
You know, and he's writing shows. You know, like so the way his brain
Atlanta
thinks.
is so fucking good.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
I haven't
So
finished
good.
Atlanta, but one of my favorite TV episodes of all time is when Paperboy goes on like the Charlie Rose NPR style TV show, and he's just sitting there like, "What the fuck is this?" And they're playing all those satirical like commercials, and that is one of my. And they have the kid who believes he's a 50-year-old white man. That is
Damn.
one of my favorite TV show or TV episodes ever.
No, Gambino is a
see that
genius.
one,
I think he's genius. Like
Yeah.
he's truly one of my artistic influences in terms of like not limiting yourself, you know? Like him, Ice Cube, people like Pac, dudes who are like writing movies in their 20s and like breaking the medium of just music, like that's what I like. That's my Mount Rushmore, you know? So like for me, even like as an artist, like I had to stop calling myself a rapper because it felt limiting, you know? Like
You prefer artists?
yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what I was doing first.
Same.
I really wasn't even rapping first. Like I'm a drummer by trade. Like
Oh,
I was
shit.
I was literally just playing music with my hands. And writing music for a metal band that has a bunch of members that would rather drink than play music kind of led me just to do it by myself. And I'm like, oh, programming drums and guitars for a band is literally making beats, so I'm gonna just make beats.
That's
fair.
fair.
So that was how I ended up like where I'm at now. It's like circumstantially, it's like, okay, I'll make beats due to the circumstances. Oh, I'll rap on these beats due to the circumstances. Oh, I'll mix these songs due to the circumstances.
Right.
So, now I have the wherewithal to like help people like Clarq build fishing poles for their career and not have to ask nobody to like feed them.
So what was it like making that first EP together making music together for the first time? So you're coming from a background of I've made and helped produce R&B music for men, so obviously you're trying to yank that out of them. But then you kind of alluded to a little bit earlier that it was more natural for you.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that process was a lot more streamlined. But what about the rest of it? What was that first collaborative process like?
I think that, because I just want to speak to the fact, like I've been, writing songs and singing my whole life, but it's different when you're in a, like when you've gone to school for it and the technicalities of it and all of that. It's not just a passion. And so Scott really helped me to hone that side of it, I like what you're saying, but like, what are you trying to say? You know what I mean? Like, what is the story? Like, what are you trying to convey? And so he really helped me to look at songwriting from just a really different perspective, from a more of a storytelling perspective, from a, you know, take them on a journey perspective. I'm not just pouring out my feelings. I am, but how can we do it in a way that's like dynamic, that touches on, you know, different emotions and different aspects of maybe one experience that I'm talking about. And for me, it was, and I'm gonna get a little revealing, but I went through so much like self-doubt. So it's actually funny because you know, when we started working together, I'm like, you just, and this was, you know, years ago, I'm like, you just write for me. I'll just sing. I'm just, you know, I had this family member that was pushing me in such a way where I was like writing and I was getting into recording myself and all these things. And it was like, why are you doing that? Stop doing that. You're just pretty. Just look pretty and just sing. You can't write songs. Like, why would you try and do that? And I internalized that so heavy to the point where it was very hard at that point where he's like, absolutely not. You can write songs. Like, I've seen your stuff. I've heard you. I see that in you.
Not you.
Like,
I was like, you're gonna.
yeah, actually, yeah. He's
No,
like,
you're
you're
gonna
He's
write
like,
these
no,
songs.
you're not about to just have people write your songs. And then, you know, even that opened up a whole avenue of education, because it's like, well, if you don't write your own shit, you're missing out on a cut of your money.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you don't write the words that you say, like, your check's about to look hella different. You know, and he let, you know, he put me on game about like the whole back end of that. So the process of Hard Eyes wasn't just, you know, just musical. It was, you know, cathartic. It was me discarding agreements that I had, you know, previously subscribed to because of kind of the trauma and the people that I came up against that really wanted to like put me in this box. And with Hard Eyes, I feel like it was such a revelation for me, because it really, like, I was able to prove to myself that I was more than just like, oh, you just look good. You know what I mean? Oh, you just like, you know, you're just meant to just be seen and heard singing these, you know, like a,
Right, sing your song,
sing
do
your
your
song,
dance,
yeah,
get off
and
the
get
stage.
on,
No,
yeah.
one thing I preached to her that was like, how am I gonna tell your story? You know,
Yeah.
even if you write it out for me and I get to know you and try to tell your story, it's not from her perspective. You know,
Yeah.
it's still like separated from what it need from the source.
Right, because I mean, human emotions are not unique at all. We all
Yeah.
experience a gamut of emotions during our lifetime, but what makes them unique are the way that we respond and the way we experience them and continue to
Yeah.
experience them.
Yeah.
I had a country singer on that's here in town a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me that exact experience. He was like, yeah, I had like 5 songs that I really enjoyed. And then Oliver Anthony came out with Richmond, North of Richmond. I was like, oh, he's singing about the same experience and same emotions that I have, but he's telling it from his perspective better than I can from mine. Fuck. I need to be a better writer.
Real. And honestly, that's what pushed me is like, I was always so hard on myself in terms of what it needed to sound like that I sat on like hundreds of ideas. And then I realized like, oh, it's not about them sounding a certain way. It's about me being able to be vulnerable enough to like express them the same magnitude that like my idols do, you know? Like Dom Kennedy or like Larry June. Like, well, that's even later. Like I'm talking like 2012, 13, you know, like Big Sean had a good run, and the way that he flowed on those really unorthodox like beats that Kanye had him doing was like, I don't know, it was just something different. He was able to pour his heart out on those tracks in a way that I'd never heard. And I was just like, well, why doesn't my shit sound like that? Oh, because I'm still trying to be like cool, you know? Like I'm still trying to figure myself out, and like I don't know how to like say what the fuck I'm trying to say. Yeah. So I think, you know, circling back to Hard Eyes, it's like that project was so good from my perspective, just because I watched her be like, I can't do it, or like, I don't know what to say, or like, all my songs sound the same. Like, just these kind of like
little things that weren't
you
even
know?
like, it wasn't even coming from me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can tell when someone's just like, that's not,
You're
it's not even
influenced by
you.
something.
Exactly.
Those aren't
And-
your thoughts.
and
Someone put that in you.
Me as the producer, you know, just putting like the producer, like the Quincy Jones hat on, it's like, no, I gotta get all that shit out the way, because the song is there, the music is there, the ideas are golden. Like, let all of the negative shit out of the way, and then all you're left with is like the channel for like what you've experienced, which is Hard Eyes, you know?
And honestly, it helps when the beats are fire and you just like,
That helps
oh, I
too.
got something for this.
helps
Like, I got
too.
a verse for this. I have an idea when it starts really sparking. Cause like, had the production not been there, like, and the fire wasn't there, and the passion and the, you know, inspiration from it just being hot, like, maybe that wouldn't have come. It definitely wouldn't. I shouldn't say maybe. It definitely wouldn't come to fruition like it did, you know? So, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
That fire. Some beats I had to fight for. Like,
No, that's real. I'm like, ooh, this one might be for
for somebody
Yeah,
else. I'm
this
like,
one-
nah, that one's for me.
know,
that one's
like,
for me.
So looking back on the interaction you have with that family member, where they're like, hey, yeah, you don't need to worry about songwriting. You can't songwrite. You shouldn't be doing that. Just sing and do that part of it and move on. Looking back at that, I'm assuming years later, do you think that came strictly from a place of negativity? Do you think they were also coming from a place of misguided protectiveness? Because you hear that a lot from family members that have a daughter, a son, a niece, nephew, whatever it is, or even someone like of their equal, like a cousin or brother or sister, like, hey, yeah, I want to be a musician. I want to be a comedian. I want to be an actor. I want whatever creative type that seems so abstract, right? It's like, how do you even start doing that?
Right.
At the family was like, oh, that's neat. Go on and do it. And then like some time passes and it's like, oh, they're still trying the thing and they don't have the paycheck, or they don't have the whatever semi-tangible or tangible thing it is that makes it quote unquote real. They start asking the questions of like, maybe you should look for the real job, or maybe you should look for the safer route, or what it sounds like to me, just playing devil's advocate, maybe they're coming from a place of, okay, yeah, you're gorgeous, but maybe you could like outsource the hard stuff to somebody else who's been doing it for a long time, and they can just get. Did it come from a place of that maybe, or do you think it was just because there's also, which a lot of people don't want to really recognize, even in families, there's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of upward punching, where it's like, why do they get to do the fun thing? At least try the fun thing while I'm stuck at my not so fun thing.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of that jealousy and a lot of that, I would almost say animosity can come from. You know what I mean? So looking back on that, where do you think that came from?
That's a good question. And I've actually, I like to reflect. I don't like to get stuck back there, but I think, you know, reflecting is important. And especially in my journey of like healing and forgiveness and letting go of things, you have to think about it and work through it and unpack it, and see things from that person's perspective. And I think there is a part of it that was like that. That's just like, you know, let's just do this. I think part of it, most of it, I think was ignorance for like how the industry, or like they just had this idea. It was like, this is what you do to make it, right? And we were misaligned because it's like, you want me to like be Beyonce. It's like, I'm writing music because it soothes my soul. I'm doing this because I have to do it. I'm singing because I've like came out the womb wanting to sing. And you're like, you know, that person, and maybe that is that that person has their vision for you. And of course, like, I want to, you know, pay my bills off music and, you know, have recognition. Like, people want that, for their talents and the things that they do and that they create. They, want eyes on it. And of course I wanted that, but I think we were just, misaligned. I also think it's like for that person, it's just, I'm going to control and like take advantage of like this situation, and I know what's best. You don't, I know better. I know this, and this. And so, I think that had a lot to do. I think it was a plethora of different things that led to, them taking that approach with me. And also too, it's like, I can understand, back then, looking back on young me, it's like I hadn't come into myself fully. So I probably was very like bubbly and, kind of maybe that person saw me in a way that was like you need to just be like a pop star, a Disney star type thing. And
very cookie cutter.
But yeah, very cookie cutter.
What's working right now.
Right. Mm-hmm. When on the inside, they just didn't see me or know me like, the real me, and realize that like there was a whole ass like artist, angsty, weird person underneath that was so much more dimensional than what they saw on the surface, and I have to forgive, because I get it. I'm not the same person today that I was then. We all grow and experience and evolve, and so I'm not even mad. I hold no animosity whatsoever.
Hey, it worked out perfect.
Yeah, it worked out.
Great.
I have a resilience and a knowing inside of me that sits in juxtaposition to that experience, and I think that's beautiful.
Well, I think one of the best ways I heard it put was by Steve Harvey. He was talking to the audience during his during one of his like thousands of daytime shows that I'm sure that guy has.
He could talk.
And he was talking about him and talking to them, and he was talking about that same kind of thing. Like, you shouldn't like live in the past, but you should reflect on it and learn from it. And he goes, you treat it like you're driving a car. Like, there's a reason why your windshield is that big and why your rear view is that big. It's back there so you can see what's behind you. So
a little bit.
Yeah, so it doesn't come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
But if they were flopped and your windshield is that small, but your rear view is that big, like, you're going to live back there forever.
Right.
And you see a lot of people, I mean, in every facet of life that are like that.
Yeah.
They're stuck in the past for... Maybe they have a real reason that's keeping them there that they just have not worked through yet. They choose not to work through yet.
Yeah.
We all know people like that. Or they're just lazy.
Right.
And they peaked early, and they want to keep living off of that. Whatever they perceive as a height in their life, it's like, okay, I guess I'll live there now.
Yeah.
Well, on the subject of peaking, like, I feel like the direction that we even took Clarq was, I guess, like an extension of what she was speaking on in terms of like the opposite of what was pushed on her early. I'm like, no, we're not doing like the pretty girl thing. We're not going to do the sexualized thing. We're not going to do any of that. Let's put out real music first, and then let them get to, like, your art, like, they can see that you're, a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, let them hear who you are, and then realize that you're a 10 out of 10.
So like Phone Off, Double Dutch is very like, it's not like, it's sexy. And there's that essence there, but it's not like sexual.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we were very, very, how do you say? Yeah, deliberate about that. And it's funny because actually one of my favorite songs on Hard Eyes is The Wave, right? And that was like one of the last songs that got finished for the project. And it is more, grown and sexy. And when I loved the beat. And so I was like, we were in the studio one day, I was like, I got something for this, Scott. He's like,
I had an idea in my head of what should be on the record already.
Yeah. And I was like, so he's like, let me hear it. That's always what he's like, let me hear it. And so he plays it, and I like, I see you in my dreams, do that thing when you make me scream. And already he was just over there like, like, I don't know. And, I just kept going, and it was like very, kind of in your face, like sexy. And he was just like, I don't know. And I fought for it. And the first verse was written, and I think I had actually had that, as we moved it. I had the second verse written, but it was in the first verse spot.
Right.
He's like, move this back and let's like fill this out and let's like tell this story and just get, real, like,
You just gotta balance it.
And get descriptive and elaborate, and I did, and it came together.
Once it sounded good, I was like, you know what? I may not like what she's saying yet, but let me just like make it sound awesome first. And then once I sat back, I was like, this is a bop. Oh, God damn, this song is so good. Yeah,
it's so just good. So, and I think it felt good to you because it was like, love's the wave, let's ride it.
Yeah.
Like sex is ultimately like a part of love, but like the overarching message is just like, let's ride this wave of love, like don't fight it. It's just very up tempo, and it feels like water to me. It feels just like you're on a beach soaking up the sun, charging your pineal gland. Like that's what it felt like to me. Mm-hmm. So I was really proud that I was able to develop that idea in a way that felt good and made sense for the project and made it on the project. It really rounded it out, I feel like.
How did you two meet? Because you two work very well together. Yeah. And there's a real chemistry, right?
So we met in high school, actually. So this is like, I'll give you the like overview, but basically we had a mutual friend, our friend Chantal. Hey Chantal, we love you.
Was Gucci.
But I went to the Public Academy for Performing Arts, and
shit.
Chantal.
Okay, that doesn't surprise anything in me. Nothing is shocked about that.
Yeah, I graduated from Papa. So
is that here in?
It's here in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque? Okay.
Yeah. And so So Chantal and I were friends, but she was like best friends with Scott on, they would go to like Warp Tour together and like,
rest in peace, Warp.
You know what I mean? R.I.P. I went every year for like 4 years.
First they took Warp Tour, then they took Rockstar Mayhem Festival.
Bro.
Dang. Yeah. Sad. So, and she was like, Chantal was that friend. My parents were very strict, and Chantal was that friend whose parents were very like open and
100% hippies.
Yes,
nice.
Super hippies. Like wonderful parents, super loving. They welcomed me, whenever. And so one day she was just like, she had kept saying, "You got to meet my friend Marcus. You got to meet him." And I was just like, "Girl, bye." Like whatever. And so she one day we were in her den, and she was messing with the VCR. And because that was our thing. We like to watch like old tapes and stuff. And so she pretended that her VCR was broken.
I gotta ask, movies or recorded TV shows from TV?
Movies.
Okay,
yeah,
I had
movies.
That's what I lived off of, was my parents and my grandparents recording shit from TV.
Yeah,
on the VHS tapes. Like that's how I found out about like Adam West Batman. All the old school cartoons like the X-Men.
Damn, that's hard.
Oh yeah,
that's what's up.
Yeah, no. So calls him up and is like, my VCR is broken. He's like, he told her something simple like unplug it and whatever. I'm sure it's fine. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like you have to come like fix it. And so, so I'm just like chilling on the bed or whatever. And we're talking, and he walked in, and I was trying to like act all cool and whatnot. We're in high school, and I saw him, and I was just like, kind of like double taked, and like he kind of did the same.
She had like shorts on, and I just remember thinking as soon as I walked in, I looked at the VCR, then I looked at her, and I looked at Chantal, and I looked back at her, and I just remember thinking, she has the softest looking legs I've ever seen. It was very vivid.
Yeah, it was. So it was one of those where she was just like convinced that we were like soulmates, and she had to get us together, and so yeah, that's how we met, and we like dated and stuff a little bit. My parents were very strict, so they were just like, and he had a beard like in high school, so mom was like,
I had to go to
this, yeah, he had a little, he had facial
See,
hair,
you
not the
probably
full
looked
beard,
good
but
with facial hair in high school. I looked like my little terrorist, and yeah, it was not good.
yeah, so that's how we met. And and then life after that, like my family ended up moving to Louisiana, and he was going off to college and everything, so we just our lives went like this. And I lived a whole life, like got married, had a kid, all of these things. And then we ended up getting a divorce, and we came back together. And it was very clear, like, to me, I was just always looked up to him and inspired by him, because I was kind of on this very like traditional route, like, go to college. I went to LSU for like pre-med and like,
shit.
all of these things. I'm like really going the like academic route. And he was in college, but he was always someone that I was like not jealous of, but like envious of and looked up to for like making their passion like their path, instead of like, oh, I have to just like go to school, do a career, like very,
Was it like you saw the creative side of yourself getting lived out elsewhere?
Yeah.
Man, like I have the brains to be like pre-med. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I have the brains to do this. And that, if you would have stuck with that and gone through medical school, become a full-fledged doctor,
Yeah.
good money.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Wonderful,
A lot
but-
of money in pharma.
Yeah.
But there's, I would imagine, there's a huge part of you that is not getting fulfilled.
Yeah, it would have been, wonderful, but I just like, it wasn't for me, and I ended up, going all these ways. I was getting closer and closer, right? I was like, okay, cosmetology school, that's a little more like creative, but I was still running from that trauma of like the whole music, trying to be forced to go the Disney route and all these things. So I was like, I'm going to just be over here. And yeah, when I saw other people living that out, and we reconnected, and I saw that you could, make a living for yourself, take care of yourself, but pursue your passion, I was like, okay, like this is what I want to pursue. Like, no doubt.
It helped that when we reconnected, my team was selling out Meow Wolf, so she had free shows for like 3 months.
True. Yeah,
And it was
true.
like lit as fuck.
I'm just like, this is lit.
Yeah.
This is so lit. This is the
You know,
life. Like,
yeah.
And I just got to really, more so connect with other creatives. And, I felt like it was like back at Papa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's where like
Like a little tribe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a tribe. Like my heart and my being, I would not be like who I am without Papa. And I know it's changed a lot, over the years and things like that. But that environment where you're just around creative people and supportive people, and people only telling you like you can do it, it like show me what you got. Like, I want to see all of that, including like the imperfections, and that it was just such a supportive environment that it just kind of came full circle. And so we haven't really slowed down since then. We've just been, creating ever since. And, yeah.
And the uninitiated hears that and they think, oh, you're living in an echo chamber. These are other people that are chasing their dreams. You don't really know if you're going to make it. It's like, well, no, that's the environment that garners growth, right? That really does push people forward, being a part of those Now, granted, like you said a little bit earlier, there are groups of people that just want to be in a band and say they're in a band,
Yeah.
but in reality, they need a better excuse to go drink and do
Right.
drugs. That
100%.
exists
100%.
at every level of creativity and at every level of success, right?
True.
You have people that overnight success, whatever that means, right? They pop off and they just go buck wild and crazy and ruin it. And then you hear of people that have a ton of talent at the mid to lower level and they just do the same exact thing with a lot less money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It
Shit,
happens.
that's where I'm at. like, kind of teetering on that professional level. Like, I got professional talent, but, I don't know, man. Like, there's something about Albuquerque that, I don't know, I just like giving back to this place.
That's special.
That's the real like culture of Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And it applies to everyone, regardless of your religion, of your race, your cultural background, no matter who it is. The Hispanic culture of family, close, tight-knit, give back to your community, give back 10 times what you were given.
Yeah.
That's kind of the culture. That's why people hear like the land of entrapment. Like, yeah, for sure. There is a bit of negativity to that for sure. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, there's amongst the plethora of negatives about this place, there has to be some pretty damn strong positives that are keeping people here.
For sure.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you were moving about your part of life, after high school, did music have any place in your life as you're doing stuff like going through college at LSU, getting married, anything like that? Did music allow for that at all? Or no, did that allow for music?
For music?
There
Yeah.
we go.
I was always writing. I had like notebooks and notebooks. By the time like I started working with Scott, I had so much stuff, but it was really just like, I just like threw it all away. I'm like, I'm not attached to any of this. Like, yes, that's like my music and my songs and all of these things, but I was just like, this is a new chapter, and so, yeah, I just ran with it and, onward and upward.
Yeah.
Like, it was always been a part of my life as far as like, just, listening to music constantly, like singing in the shower, like any chance I could get, writing, music, but really, when I got to this, forward to this stage where we were connected and I committed, because yes, it was our connection, but it was really me, like just saying like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to be disciplined about it. I'm going to be, I'm going to firmly stand on this path. And there were people that are just like, yo, like, oh, it's the energy. No one's ever like outright told me that, but the energy from some people is just like, oh, it's too late for that, or you have a kid or whatever. But
It's cool that you're trying that music thing out.
yeah, it's cool that you
The key word in that sentence is thing.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that like so?
Yeah.
After,
up?
mind you, I've heard somebody say that to her after we've dropped Hard Eyes.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like,
You know what I
thanks,
mean?
right?
Yeah. It's like, that cute little music thing.
cute little-
You're still like making music on your computer.
Bro,
Yeah.
I've actually still
Interesting.
heard that. I've heard people be like, are you still making music? Are you still doing that music thing?
Music thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, mind you, I'm getting checks every quarter
Yeah.
for music.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
I'm a
Like, yeah,
professional.
man,
Yeah,
I'm
like,
still doing it.
Yeah. So it's
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. And so it's always been, it's ever present. And now I'm in this phase where I shouldn't even say phase. I'm just like at this point in my journey where especially connecting to like my roots and everything, and realizing that all of my family, that I found through 23andMe is all musicians, and that bloodline is there.
Friends of Prince.
Friends of Prince, like sharing the stage with Prince and other musical greats. I was just like, oh, it's over.
Destiny.
Y'all can't stop me, because it's like, that's what I've been feeling. That's what I've been feeling in me, and that's been like that driving force.
Yeah. No, real shit. Real shit. I feel like it even touches, like, I don't know, everything happens for a reason, Like, I could have easily been like, all right, me and the 4 guys I have around me that helped me get that #1 record, let's write all her music. We could have done it, like, easily. She could be through the roof by now, but that doesn't leave room for, like, her to heal and build who she is through music.
Yeah,
which is the
there's
purpose,
no
you know what I mean?
longevity there.
No,
Like,
none. And that was what I preached. There's no longevity in that.
The way I equate that is, you see, not really so much anymore. It's like the cardinal sin of it, but you used to hear of a bunch of comedians that would steal jokes left and right, get real famous off that. Best example being Carlos Mencia.
For sure.
Where they just steal jokes left and right.
Yeah.
They finally get called out for it, and it's like, oh no, they've actually been doing this thing. And then like, he's going on tour. Like, he just came through.
Yeah.
He just came through. I didn't go see him, but he just
Right.
came through here, and yeah, he still draws a crowd, and because Might Have Mencia was just so fucking huge back in the early 2000s when Comedy Central was really the thing. But now it's like he's never going to be as big as he could have been.
Mm-hmm.
He'll always be known for being a joke stealer, just like now Amy Schumer. She's known now as
Really?
I
I
didn't
didn't hear
realize
that.
her biggest specials are littered with jokes that are stolen by or from Whitney Cummings, Eliza Schlesinger, Nikki Glazer, Ali Wong.
Really?
There was one more really big comedian she stole from, a female comedian. I forget the fucking name, but anyway,
I mean, Ali Wong, yeah,
they're
she's
known.
funny as hell.
They're now known as these joke thieves. But then talk about longevity.
Yeah.
They've built their brand off of stealing and altering jokes. They didn't learn how to write for themselves.
Right.
Much like in the same respect, if you start with what are effectively ghostwriters, because in every song you're gonna do, you're not gonna put Clarq featuring da 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 da. You're just gonna put Clarq.
Yeah.
And then now what happens if a relationship with one of the three or one of the four guys gets severed? Or what happens if life happens and they're no longer in your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
What are you gonna do when these inalienable tools in your toolbox are gone?
right.
Yeah. Because yeah.
Because creativity, at least in my opinion, there has to be a non-negotiable level of independence and selfishness in the art for what you're doing.
For sure.
There has to be.
Yeah.
You have to be reliant on yourself for a certain percentage of what you're doing.
Yep.
100%.
Collaborations are awesome. Partnerships are amazing.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to have your own inherent talent and ability to
Yeah.
carry yourself.
To bring to the table.
Exactly, bring to the table. And again, that brings an inherent value to others.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you're
And
known as the person that just has ghostwriters, you're kind of fucked.
You're
Right.
fucked. And like I there's so many amazing, people that we're, collaborating with, planning to collaborate with that, I would feel silly if I didn't, come with it and come ready. It's like Pocket Elephant. I love him, like such a fan.
the
Like
shit.
Pablo's
Love
the
that guy.
shit,
He's
you
a
know?
man.
Shout
And
out-
it's
shout out
like
Pablo.
the level of like just talent that he has and originality and flavor. It's like, I want to sit in a room with you and create. How can I do that if I don't create?
Talk about a guy that's so authentically himself.
He's so himself.
He doesn't give a fuck.
Zero.
I would love to watch that guy work.
Yeah, honestly. And that's where we're at. We're just
Hey, Pocket Elephant, we still got to get in the studio.
100%.
Haven't forgotten.
It's happening. We just, life and everything, but it's going to happen. And when it does, it's just going to be such an amazing experience and so organic and so like, y'all get ready. Like the sound that comes from that session, over.
So we got your side of what happened when the split between the two of you happened. You continue to work on music. What was that journey like for you? It sounds like it took you to some pretty wild places.
It did. So I went to New York for music, or for college. I got my music degree at St. Rose. It's like it's the school that all like the kids that don't want to pay for Juilliard go to, So like some heavy hitters, like some really talented people.
Very reputable.
I went down a rabbit hole of how much a lot of these like fine arts colleges cost, and
Yeah.
Juilliard is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Insane.
I mean, shit, I still owe like 70 grand on my loans. Let's just put that into perspective.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to Juilliard.
And not to completely derail the subject, but how much of a fucking scam is student loans?
Oh man, it's colleges are banks. I'll put it this way. My journey went through college, but I don't advise anybody that knows they want to make music to go to a 4-year college for it. I just don't. And not unless you know specifically, like you're trying to gain specific skills that you'll get from that program.
Right, which is insane. Like that is so. I was going through, film school. It was fall of 2021. I was going through film school, and one of my professors, he's been in the film industry for like 25 years, doing a whole bunch of different stuff, from like directing to producing and all this crazy shit. And I remember he wanted to have it was a very small online class, maybe 8 of us. And he wanted to have like initial, not interviews, but like just conversations over Zoom. And so we had a conversation for like 2 hours, very informative conversation. But in the his first question, first 5 minutes was, hey, so why did you choose this class? And I was like, well, I mean, it was on my course list. I was just honest with them. I was like, yeah, it's on my course list. And I kind of figured that intro to film production is kind of necessary for film schools. I was like, yeah, makes sense. He goes, no, I'm going to stop you right there. There is nothing you're doing here that even is remotely necessary.
Right.
And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, well, film school's not necessary if you want to be in the film industry. I was like, okay, so what? I was like, sir, respectfully, you know, I would love to talk about whatever you had planned, but can we focus on this?
Yeah.
Why is it? And he just broke it down. Like,
For sure.
Damn. Yeah.
this is a racket.
I didn't have anyone like that for me.
It's fucking insane. And
Yeah.
then it's like, well, the reason I got out of film school is not because of him. I got out because I can't talk about it too much in detail yet, because when this episode comes out, I'll tell you off when we get done recording. But the program that I was using, I'll put it that way. The program I was using to pay for school decided to cut the funding. So I was like,
shit.
oh, okay. No film school.
Yeah.
But then, you know, to have somebody so ingrained, 'cause he's been teaching at UNM for like, I think 10 years. So, you know, I'm sorry, 8 years or so. But he's been there for so long teaching. And then while off and on, like, he only does online classes because he's just traveling the world doing film shit. So it's like, okay, someone like that is telling me it's not necessary. And then and then obviously you find out that like the student loans don't ever go away. You can file for bankruptcy. Like there's people getting Social Security docked.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of their fucking
student
Yeah, it's
loans.
wild. Shit is
And
wild.
it's like, you know, it's sold that like you have to do that
No, you
in
don't.
any industry
Yeah, you
to
don't.
like make a living, and it's just society is so far from that. It's just like one of the biggest lies. You know?
So I almost dropped out.
Yeah.
You know, speaking to my journey, like was in music school, literally had 2 semesters left to my degree, ended up interning in LA for my cousin's film company, you know, full circle, and stayed there because I was like in the mix, you know. I'm like, I'm meeting people that I need to meet. I'm in the studio with people I need to meet. Like, I'm here. Like, I'm already here. I'm going to be here after I graduate. I'm just not going to go fucking back. And I did that. I lived out of my fucking car. I was homeless for like 4 months. Got a gym membership and showered at 24 Hour Fitness.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, found the pattern of people, of restaurants that threw food away that was still fucking hot. So I'm like, yo, give me that. Like,
no, for
you know,
real.
for sure. You know, I was finessing, like, and it was also back in the days when you can like hack Macs with like in the backside like the DMG files. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I was like selling programs and plugins and sounds like on Craigslist and like just posted up at Starbucks for hours and just doing that, you know. But my mom called me and was like, yeah, St. Rose called. Take your ass back to school. I was like, fuck. All right, guys, it's been real.
It's been real.
My mom says I have to go get a degree.
Mom said playtime's over. I have to go home.
Real
I'm
talk.
outta here.
Real talk. So yeah, I went back, finished, but literally as soon as I graduated, like packed my shit right back up and moved right back up there. And that's, you know, touching to that two bedroom with 4 dudes and making music and shit. That's when I ended up back there doing that.
What do you think is the most useful skill, or I guess skill set, that you got out of going to school? That specific school.
Reading music. Well, I read music before that, but like honing it, like the ability to sight read my ear, like ear training was a thing that we did for a year. We had to do piano for a year, no matter what instrument. So there's a few things, honestly, like 4-mallet marimba, jazz vibes. Like I was just out of my comfort zone every day there, you know, because all I wanted to do was play metal. First of all, like I was just like, I'm in a band, like I want to give me breakdowns.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. So I was kind of arrogant about it. I feel like I wasn't present enough in music school to really learn as much as I could have.
Do you feel like if you weren't in that environment, you wouldn't, especially at the time that you went, and the age you were, you wouldn't have the self-discipline to expose yourself to things that were out of your comfort zone?
100%. Truthfully, if it wasn't for music school, I don't think I would be in a position to write, produce, you know, record, mix, master, you know, play live drums for, like, all of the things that go with, like, running a label, you know what I mean? Like, most people have a team to do that, and unfortunately I don't, so I, like, literally have to just, like, put on every hat at some point. And I learned part of that every year I was out in New York, you know? So I don't take it for granted. I just feel like had I not put myself in a position to like build so much financial debt for myself, you know, I would be in a better position to capitalize financially on my ideas.
I mean, Kenny Riley, Rio Grande Studio.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's my mentor. He doesn't know it,
is
but that's my mentor.
one of the people that I am kind of looking at. It's like, how do I talk to you?
Yeah, he's
the plug.
he's amazing. Yeah, I've gotten the pleasure of being able to sit down with him several times and just pick his brain. But that was one thing that he said. He's like, save your money that you're gonna go to college for, and just like buy the equipment. And just learn it. Like, if you want to be, you know, because he was specifically talking about,
like a recording engineer.
you know, a recording engineer.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't go to school for that shit. And he's like, fuck that. Like, just do it. Like, spend that money, invest it in the equipment, set yourself up, and start recording bands. And he's like, you'll learn so much more. There's stuff that you'll learn doing it that way that you would never gain in you know, in a purely academic environment. And that really stuck with me, and it reminded me, you know, what you're talking about. It's like, you could have invested that money in, you know, just doing it for yourself, and now you've already like built up. But hey, you know, we live and we learn.
I mean, I feel like the cool thing for me is that I was doing both. Like, literally, I spent the money to buy my own shit. Like, I had a whole Class A studio to learn out of at college, but I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna be in my bedroom, like, banging out beats and songs for 8 hours, you know, at a time. But, you know, like, it's give and take, you know.
And obviously it scales, like, for when one day when you have your own like professional big giant recording studio, you're gonna need bigger equipment, but like, you're gonna have to buy that shit anyway.
Exactly, you know.
100%.
So now
Now you have your studio.
I have my studio,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was able to, you know, invest in myself and you know, create a space where we can make professional sounding music.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
No, you're making professional music.
Yeah.
I mean,
Professional
Nah,
music.
real
know what I
shit.
mean?
Yeah.
Real shit. I appreciate that.
oh yeah, the music sounds fucking amazing. Your music sounds
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Thank
And
you.
so I think he had the right mindset. Kenny telling you that, well, you have to learn the shit anyway.
Right.
Regardless if you go to school or not, you have to buy the shit anyway.
Right.
No one's gonna buy it for you, so
Right.
why not just save it and do it now?
Yep.
Do that.
As opposed to doing, you know, 'cause, I mean, I don't have student debt, but I've got debt where it's like, well, do it now when you don't have a ton of debt,
Right.
as compared to when you do have debt, and then now you're hemorrhaging money to debt and your passion
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So, 'cause I definitely have my own thought on this, but what, in your guys' experience being in the creative process for so long, the most marketable skill for a creative?
The most marketable skill.
Marketable meaning like it sets yourself up for success better. It's going to set people up around you for success better, and the most valuable
Producing
thing you can have.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say producing music and marketing, because you're the
That's real.
You're the product.
Yeah.
So yeah, producing like from the creative standpoint, but I think you have to have that mindset of like, you know, you're your PR agency, you're your marketer. You
I
know?
still want to hire one.
Yeah, I mean, we should, and
I
we
struggle
should.
with that.
That is the first fucking, when I get
Yeah.
some fuck you money, that is the first thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am
100%.
hiring a
PR.
full-time social media marketer, and
Yes.
she knows exactly who she is, and she's great at her job.
Let me get that number.
I am outsourcing
Yeah.
Yeah.
everything to this
No, real
person
shit.
because
Yeah.
I just don't want to fucking
Give us
do
that
it.
connect.
I mean,
Yes.
we got our photographer Jazz here.
Oh, yeah,
not
I'm-
our photographer. She's
I meant
her
to
own
say this
Yeah, she's
earlier.
her own, but
Yeah.
We have a
we love her.
photographer in the studio.
Yeah.
First guest to ever bring a photographer to the podcast studio.
Man, because
so
it's lit like that, man. You
It's
know,
awesome.
Like,
Only for the professional.
of
Different.
course, you know.
Thank you, Jazz. No,
Clarq is a
this-
star, so we got to document the happenings.
Thank you, Scott. No, it's I feel like even that little thing is, I feel so fortunate. I'm like, because I'm thankful. It's like, it does, you know, take, you know, resources and things like that, and we're, you know, talking about marketing. It's like, how can I use the resources that I do have at my disposal? I don't have a label, you know, I have our label. We don't have a major label.
Yeah, we don't have
behind
like
us.
real backing. Like
You know,
literally
it's
everything
us.
that like the studio and the clients that I take and the projects that we do and the shows that we do, all that literally pays for the ideas that we have, you know?
Right.
And the,
So-
you know, the photographers and the videos and things like that. And, you know, I'm just like, I'm a huge believer and proponent of gratitude. You know, something that I tell my daughter all the time, and I remind her, and it's a call and response thing. I'm like, what language does the universe speak? And she's like, gratitude. And I'm like, and what does gratitude translate to? And she says abundance. And that's something that I really, you know, take to heart, and I want her to take to heart, because if you just have gratitude for the things, even if you like worked, yes, you have to work to accomplish them and to, you know, make the plays and set things up around you, but it's not like, oh, I have to do this. I have to, you know, set this thing up for, you know, the photographer for, no, it's, I get to do this. I get to do that. I get to have these experiences. And really, when you shift your mindset to that, I feel like that is what, you know, when the universe just starts saying like, let me move this obstacle. Let me do this. Let me put you in the room with this person. Let me, have this, maybe it's the algorithm, but I was gonna say have this podcast come up on your, you know, suggested, but I'm like, it's the universe. It's like
the universe likes hearing thank you, you know?
Yeah.
Like you keep you keep saying thank you, then it's gonna keep giving you reasons to say thank you. Period.
Yeah. It's really like that simple.
Well, I agree 110%. And you know, I completely agree. Like, I really do believe that the universe, whether you want to call it God, the universe, whatever you believe in, whatever you want to call it, is a very forgiving thing, and it's a very giving thing as well.
Yeah.
And so as you go in life, and again, there are left and right limits to that. There are extremely horrible things that happen to good people, and there are extremely bad or good things that happen to bad people.
Absolutely.
Right? There are ends of that spectrum for sure. However, generally, I believe that if you move forward with the right intention and you move forward really doing the right, trying to do the right thing, working as hard as you can, at least from my perspective as a Christian, I really do believe that God loves seeing his creation work as hard as it can to
100%.
become the most potential it can become. For sure.
Well, because if we have these, you know, God-given talents, and we have these, you know, this path that's set for us, everybody has their purpose. Everybody has their, you know, whether they tap into it or figure it out, unearth it during this life or not. If you think about it, why wouldn't, you know, God, the creator, the universe, reward you and set you up to fulfill what they created you to fulfill?
Right.
You know, we really are. It's like, I'm just moving these puzzle pieces around because we're all one, right? We're just pieces. So it's easy to feel like, oh, I'm just like Clark, you know, just like Noah, but really we're all a part of one thing, you know, this amalgamation of stardust and, you know, all of these iterations of DNA. I heard someone say that it was actually Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's like, it's actually quite crazy that like you, Noah, were born, because like all of the permutations of DNA that could exist, like so many of them will never exist. So like me being here is like, it's a miracle. You know what I mean? So it's so funny because he's like not into God and he's not into that.
But then, you know, on the opposite side of that, because there are two sides to everything, I also, and this is one of my favorite quotes from Jordan Peterson, is that nobody ever gets away with anything. And I truly believe that. And so even though, you know, there's people that are hyper successful that may or may not deserve it, right? No one's really there to judge. But, you know, if you're doing the right or wrong thing when nobody's watching, behind people's backs, if you're acting like a snake, if you're betraying people left and right, regardless of how close they are to you, you don't get away with that. Because then it's like, okay, well, if you're doing this thing that's negative and you know you're doing it, and there's no physical repercussions, like your partner's not finding out, you're not going to jail, your job's not finding out. Okay, fine, sure. Yeah. But how are your relationship with your people around you looking?
How's your health?
How's your health?
How,
how's your finances?
Real, that's
how's
real.
your mental health?
Right.
Right? How's your living situation?
We
Right?
I'm looking at you because, you know, we both had, you know, experiences with, you know, specific people. That's why I told you earlier. It's like, I'm not mad. Like, I don't hold any animosity anymore. Because, you know, you got to work through that. I'm not like, you know.
Mine still creeps up every now and then.
He said, I'm still working on it. He said, somebody could catch these hands. No, but it's it's a real thing where, you know, you see that, and I'm just like, you know, even from a creative perspective, you're like, that person's like, I sing way better than that person. I can actually dance. I have rhythm. That person has nothing. Or like, you know, not from a judgy standpoint, but you're just like, dang, you know, I should be here, and I just let all of those thoughts go, because it's like, nah, like as long as I'm doing, like you said, moving with good intention, I'm, you know, having like discipline, I'm following the light within me, and I'm not, sweeping the dark under the rug, but I'm facing it, I'm working through it, and I'm doing all of those things, then I'm going to be exactly where I need to be when I need to be to receive the blessings I need to.
That's also one of the most non-productive things you can do for yourself. The comparison is genuinely the thief of joy.
Yeah.
But comparison is also the thief of productivity.
100%.
If you spend so much time, like, you can have people that you look up to, or that you take after in one way or another. It's like, oh, okay, well, they're doing this thing right, I'm gonna do that. Try to do a little better. Oh, they really fucked that up, I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Right. But to sit there and think, oh, why are they so successful? Why did their record get so many streams? Why did their this do that? Or why did they have a Netflix special? Or why did they get that promotion? Or they're married before me? Fuck you. Why are you married before me? It's like, well, okay. Okay, maybe there are reasons these things did or did not happen to you.
And you don't know about their marriage. Their marriage might be terrible. You know, and now you're over here like coveting, and it's like they're miserable behind the scenes, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, you just don't know. You don't know. And it's like, yeah, you can't live like that, where you're, you know, I think a more productive way of like doing that wouldn't be called comparison, but it'd be like, you know, studying. If you see somebody else doing something that's amazing or that you love, and they're reaching these heights that you have your sights set on, let me look at that. Let me try and break that down and be a student of, because that person is you, but just in, you know, different circumstances. Like, I truly believe that. Like, it's just, you know, we're all like reflections of each other. So if we really go through life with the mind of and the heart of a student and a servant, you know, it's like I'm serving myself, my family, my purpose, and I'm studying those people that, you know, I aspire to be like, then you really can't lose. You know, it might, your you know, joy and your you know, whether you want to call it blessings or however, that it just looks different, you know, and it really does. Like, so
being
I'm like,
open to education makes you it makes you a better person to be around. A, but B, it's going to help you. Talk about longevity a little bit earlier. It's just going to feed you in the long run so much better, because these people, provided you pick the right ones to look up to and study after, all they're doing, aside from obviously being successful for themselves and them people around them, they are paving the way for you. They're showing you what works.
yeah,
For the most part, right?
Yeah. Or what doesn't work.
Exactly.
You know, because you can learn just as much from, it's like, ooh,
From failure.
what not to do, right?
Yeah,
It's like, you know.
And
so.
when talk about perspective, what I think is funny when I ask what the most valuable, remarkable asset or skill is from you guys, it's obviously from your perspective.
Yeah.
It's being a producer, because that's what you know and it's what you love so much. But it's also like, I know, like, I'm sure your mindset a bit is, I know that I can bring my skill set to almost any vocalist and make their stuff better.
Well, truly,
100%.
truly, I feel like my perspective is that producing is, my answer to that is producing, because I feel like the producers are what's shaping the future of music, you know? Like, we're literally laying the landscape of what the singers are going to be like skating over, you know? Like,
I mean, if you think about it, like there's tons of like instrumentals.
Yeah,
Like there, you
mad
listen to instrumental
instrumentals.
music, but do you often hear stuff on people's playlists where it's like just acapellas?
Right.
Not often,
Right?
you know.
Not
Right.
often. I mean, yeah, like go listen to the acapella of Manifest. That shit's fire.
Yeah.
Like just throwing that out there. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
No,
I
for
think
sure.
you're right about that.
But I just feel like, producers get paid the most. So,
They get paid a ton of
you know,
money.
like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like,
Yeah.
there's just
He's
a
like,
big
"We're
chunk that
dope."
goes to, like,
That's it.
yeah. I mean, it's
We're
a little
fired.
biased. It's a little biased, but yeah, I mean, I just breaking it down from like the business side and the creative side. It's like, I just feel like without the producer in the room, you just got ideas.
Yeah,
know,
you
have-
need the creative focal point to bring everything together. Like you said a little bit earlier, the glue, right? To be that adhesive and bring it all and make it manifested into
Yeah.
something,
for sure,
right?
for sure.
And then you picked marketing because you're the
Yeah.
one out in front, whether it's in front of the camera, in front of the audience. Marketing, it has to be in your back pocket.
Yeah. People, I'm weird because I'm like very extroverted, but I'm kind of like private. And so a lot of times, and people I've seen by the time this episode comes out, are like, oh, like we haven't seen a whole bunch of Clarq. Cause I did kind of like go in a rock for a little bit, and just like go inside myself. But, I know that and I'm fortunate that there are people that are like, dang, I haven't seen anything from Clarq. Like they as an artist, there's people that, art gets them through, music gets them through life. Like that's a big deal. I don't take that lightly when people come up to me and they're like, man, hard eyes. Like our friend, Hud, he's like, hard eye. Every time we see him, he's just like,
Hassan.
man, yeah, Hassan, yeah. He's like,
Abstract
hard eyes
love,
is-
man.
abstract
Abstract
love,
love.
and another
favorite
friend,
off that
yeah.
EP.
Which one?
Abstract Love.
That was my
yeah.
favorite beat.
Yeah, just
Honestly,
good.
yeah, that's up there for me too. But it's like that. You got to have that marketing piece. And I don't even like view it as marketing. It's like, well, let me just be seen. I'm making this art. Like, let it be seen. And so I'm fortunate enough, and I'm glad that we have so many talented people around us. Like Jazz and others that are able to capture the creative process and behind the scenes and everything that goes into it, because that's really what people don't really want to see anything that's like too contrived at this point. They just want to see what are you doing? How did this come about? I love this music. Like, let me see you. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is your what's your sense of humor? What's your personality? What are you struggling with? So yeah, I think that's it. It is an important piece, but I think that's why we work so well together, because it's like the music and the creation, we have those chops. Scott leads that way, and then I'm like, how do we showcase this, and that marriage and thought partnership is really organic and works really well.
How has it been involving yourself in the Albuquerque music scene?
Honestly, it's been wonderful, because everybody, I don't really there's not really any haters, and
Anymore.
anymore. Yeah, we told you there's some people, maybe there's haters, but I just don't
there
be
may be, but
caring.
They will never say it to
I
your
won't-
face.
The music
I
is
won't
too
know.
loud at this studio.
Yeah.
Can't hear him.
And
There you go.
when you drop heat, it's like you can only hate so much. But are you in the mirror popping into Manifest? Yes,
Yeah.
you are. So
If you're not, your girl is, or your girl's girl is.
right. So it's like, so it's one of those things, where I'm just for real.
So.
It's just one of those things where, but like I said, there's just so many great people, especially the people that are close to us, that I've come to know through, our close circle, like Kali Soul and Daniel Thomas and Rakim Al-Noor, Joffro, And then, even expanding out, Willa J is someone that I've gotten really close to lately.
Absolute sweetheart. Yeah,
So amazing.
She's awesome.
Amanda Michonne. It's just, we talked about Pablo earlier. And then even the creatives that aren't even making music that kind of create this ecosystem.
Yeah, shout out Bootcamp Baddies, honestly.
Bootcamp Baddies, and their events, and, Al Bangian with his insane graphic design, clothing designers like Frankie. I mean, it's all, I think that's what's so unique about Albuquerque is like all the creators, no matter what your medium is, we're all like,
You come with the shits, man.
yeah, like we're all connected, and I love that so much.
The ecosystem's awesome here.
Yeah.
Everything is so connected, and a lot of the active players in it find a way to prop each other up.
Yeah, for sure.
In one way or another.
Right.
Yeah.
And boast each other up, which is awesome. Because there's obviously, it's amazing to support local and eat local and buy local, but it's even better to promote, eat, buy good local.
Right.
Good. Oof.
No, that's real shit, man. Because there's
Like, let's be honest.
That's-
Yeah.
Like,
I'm happy you
here.
said
Glad you
that.
said
I'm
that.
so
For-
happy you said that.
Like, I'm here for the small creator. Like, I'm a fucking small creator, so I'm here for the small creators.
But it's good.
But thank you. But I'm
Hell yeah.
here. Thank you. But I'm also here. Like, I sing the praises of people that I genuinely love. Like, people. Like, there's a bit of time where people were telling me, like, man, is this a podcast of is it just yours, or do the Slums of Harvard have like a fucking investment on this shit? Because it's like every other week. It's like, well.
Yeah.
They have good music, and they're my homies. Suck a dick.
Yeah.
I like hanging out with these guys.
shit.
And there's also 6 of the motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So, but then it's like, no, that's why I have them on a lot of the Side Montero guys. I fucking Jaren's my homie.
Yeah,
Love
they're
Yeah,
great.
Side
him coming
Montero's
back
cool.
and,
Yeah.
just being able to support good local. Gotta be honest, it feels better
Yeah.
than just saying, yeah, these guys are great. Go check
Yeah.
out their shit. Because authenticity is real.
Right.
Generally speaking, people have a decent bullshit meter.
Yeah.
And they can tell if you're just reading a fucking, like, today we're sponsored by blah, 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 blah. Like, you know what I mean? Now, I'm
sure.
very thankful to have the sponsor that I have. But guess what? There's 1,000 different places to get fucking green chili in the state. These people are one of my favorites.
Yeah.
They are, like, store-bought wise, they are my fucking favorite.
For sure.
And
Sorry.
honestly, your Christmas person,
Yeah.
that's my jam. So, yeah.
And I've never had like a blend in a can
jar.
before. And
Yeah.
it's fucking or jar.
Yeah.
And it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So and
I've
that's
never seen that.
That's why I love telling people that's like, yeah, support local, but you really need to highlight and support
Yeah.
good local, because you want your scene to look good.
Right.
You want your
100.
genre to look good. You don't want the representatives, because again, that's why, and I've told people this, and it's the truth. I love being the podcast guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like,
You can say whatever you want.
I'm in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking around.
Yeah.
I'm watching from the back, from above. I get to see what everyone else is doing, and I get to hear other perspectives. And I hear the drama, but I stay out of it.
Yeah.
I have no dog in the fight.
So my name is Bennett, and I ain't in it.
Yeah,
That's what my
exactly.
mama used to say.
And I see, and there are common denominators, whether it's in the music community, whether it's in the comedy community. There's common denominators of the shitbags, and I'm like, hey, help them. Teach them. If they're being dickheads to you, cut the relationship, whatever. But do not support bad local, because what
Yeah.
if that becomes the face of your scene?
Well, look,
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad
then
you
what?
said that, bro, because, like, you got entities like The Hustle, and no disrespect to them, like, great, but
I've heard things.
it's not, I mean, we've lived things. It's not something that in my opinion, pushes, like, objectively, like, the best music that it can.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah.
Coming from cities like New York and LA, right? Like I'm the type of person that I'll zoom out and I want to see the mechanism. Like I want to see how it works. I like to streamline it and okay, that makes sense.
That's
do
why
the
you go
math.
far as a producer.
Exactly,
That's why.
And even like from a label perspective, I'm just like, how do we get to the money? How do we create something that like brings money in? Okay, Netflix is here. The dudes in film know how to do that. There's a pipeline to the film, Netflix, right? As Albuquerque doesn't have a pipeline to the majors, right? So I'm not selfishly, but like my goal, like tangibly, is like to create that pipeline. Like so that it's not to gatekeep, but to objectively be like, dude, you have fucking awesome music. Let me put you in this pipeline to get you to the money, so that all you have to focus on is music for the rest of your fucking life.
Well, and then let's be honest. What's the alternative? if you're gonna have somebody, or at least and hopefully it's not just you. Hopefully there's a couple of really great producers in the city that are able to elevate themselves. Like, no, we have the experience, we have the ability, but more importantly, like you just outlined, I have the confidence to say I have a pretty good barometer of what's good.
Right.
And now I've finally built the connection to get Albuquerque artists out of here.
Right.
Not to say that Albuquerque's shitty, but like you just said, there isn't really a clear way to
no clear pipeline,
to get out there and do things. And thank God for social media, so you can market your stuff and get out there. But it's like, if you're a great musician, if you're an amazing comedian, and you want to stay in Albuquerque, where are you really gonna go and do things if you want to get on the global, not even global, on the national scale?
Right, and that's why I bring up the radio, because like the radio's role in breaking artists is very pivotal. It's very important.
Is it still?
Even still,
it is still
in a different way.
In a different way. It's not so much in like a, like, because streaming is king right now, right? Unfortunately, honestly, but radio is the pivotal part, because they have the backing and they have the plugs to the majors, because the majors are coming to them week in and week out saying, play our songs.
Do you feel like that is still an effective model, or is it a traditional model that's institutionalized?
It's a traditional one.
And that's just never going to go away.
It's a traditional
because people, I'd imagine there are some old heads and some people that just enjoy the model of using radio as almost like, and I say institutionalized as it's almost like a rite of passage.
No, 100.
Are you getting on the radio, and then is your music, talk about marketing again, is your music good for the radio, therefore marketable? Can we throw you on a commercial? Can we throw you behind an NBA game? That type of stuff.
I don't even think about approaching the radio from like our music needs to be on it. Because I truly, when I step in the studio, I'm like, what can I fuck up the industry with? You know, like, how can I make music where people say it should be on the radio, and then I'd be like, nah, it's never going to be on the radio. That's kind of how I come at it, you know? Yeah. So it's not about like our music should be on the radio or shouldn't be on the radio. It's really like the role of the radio can project somebody's career if they choose to. And it's not even the radio airplay. It's like the radio having the backing to be the one that's supporting this major artist coming to the city.
Yeah,
right?
Because I mean, the back end of it, like media, it makes a difference. It does. Yeah. If you have, if your single is on,
a media-based certified radio station.
Right. So
there's
technicalities to it,
and there's a level of legitimacy there,
right?
Where it's like, okay, you can add that to your repertoire.
Exactly.
Like, my music can do this, and I've been doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny you bring up that specific station. Because I mean, I've heard things auxiliary left and right, but my own small experience. So there's a guy that I used to work with years and years and years ago, and he now works there.
Yeah.
And talk about a fake motherfucker. I'm not going to say his name because I'm polite.
Right.
But talk about a fake motherfucker. He hits me up and he goes, "Hey, I really love what you're doing with the podcast." Right. Yeah. And then he goes, "I work at this radio station. I'd love to have you on air sometime to talk and promote the podcast, and it'd be great for you, fucking all this stuff." I'm like, yeah, hey, cool. That'd be sick, dude. Yeah. What radio station is? And I'm naive, right? And he tells me the radio station, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sick. I'm fucking busy for like the next week, but like, let's do this day, da da da. But then it like kind of sung. I was like, oh wait, no, I've heard of. Oh no. So I hit somebody else up that I trust, like vehemently trust, and has become someone that I look up to, and they have dealt with and briefly worked there for a bit. And I was like, hey, I don't want to give things away about who this person is, but I was like, hey, like, this is what has been presented to me. And he goes, give me 15 minutes and I'll call you. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, when they say they gotta call you, you know something is up.
And long story short of the conversation, he goes, listen, this is what's gonna happen. All right, they are gonna have you come in, you're gonna sit down with your friend and the guy that runs the radio station, and they might throw you a bone and let you talk on the radio for the first time for free. But afterwards, you're going to pay a stupid amount of money for airtime that is so invaluable. He goes, you're going to get less listeners per dollar than you're going to spend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Being honest. And I was like, he goes, your podcast, it does not, and this is like maybe a year or so ago, maybe a little less. He goes, the podcast, not a huge reach, but you still have a bigger reach right now. Keep promoting your stuff, especially
It'll
long
get
term,
there.
than what you're going to do paying for this overtime.
For sure.
Yeah.
Don't fucking do it. And I was like, sounds good. I trust you.
Yeah.
There's an ethics, and
Oh, talk about ethics. Sorry, the last part of that. Last part of that story. Thank you for reminding me. Talk about ethics. The money that I would have paid to get on the radio station, my friend would have got a cut of it. So it's in his best interest to get me on the radio station, paying for it under his referral, so that he gets a commission out of it. Exactly. And the Joe, my buddy, was like, yeah, that's why they're called the hustle.
Yeah.
That's all you need to fucking know.
It's and no shade,
More power to 'em.
because it's like, but there is that we have to talk. They came up because we're talking about,
Rap music.
Pieces
music.
playing a part in
success
elevating
of
what's
the city.
good and elevating the cream of the crop. And when you have an organization that has that much power, but they have no buy-in to the culture, they have no connection to the soul and the heart of the creatives in the city, but they have a connection to people's pocketbook, then to me, like, that's a travesty. Like,
Yes. So talk about travesties. So at least from what I was told, and again, an outsider looking in, I think it happened last year. The New Mexico Hip Hop Awards. What the fuck happened?
I mean, I wasn't invited.
Like,
yeah, I
because I saw bits and pieces of it,
yeah.
and I saw a lot of the chatter afterwards, and how much of a fucking fiasco it was, and how much of it was basically just a self-stroking competition.
Oh, I mean,
It's
you could vote for yourself.
Yeah, and it's definitely related to, like I said, like when you have people that are not creatives themselves, are not even affiliated closely with anyone that is on their creative grind and putting out high quality professional music and stuff that moves people and sounds good and people want to hear and that connects with people, it's going to be a miss. You can put all the money behind it you want. You can have, this person on the board and these people in the room. It's not going to do nothing because it has no soul. If you remove that from the equation, then, especially I feel like people that are tapped in a certain way, like passionate people that have, what is the word that I'm looking for? Like they're tapped into their purpose, and they,
They're
it's
self-starters. They have an
yeah.
investment in themselves. They have an investment in their community. They have a real buy-in to what they're doing rather than just, hey, this looks fun. I'm going to do the thing and elevate myself as much as I can in a very facetious way.
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, bro, I just feel kind of like disappointed at what we have in that role as our radio station. You know what I mean? Like,
especially considering who we know personally. You know what I mean?
No,
and
for sure.
Who's amazing.
I just, it's like, man, like DJ Khaled. You don't have to like him.
I think he's fucking hilarious.
He's hilarious.
I used to follow because
Right.
now it's very obvious that his management team has taken over the Instagram. It's not as fun as it used to be, so I don't follow him anymore.
Right.
But man, between
give me that.
2013 to like 2017, DJ Khaled's Instagram page was my favorite meme page ever. And I felt, and I'm sure they're paid pretty decently well.
Yeah.
But I felt kind of bad for like his chefs who basically 3 times a day would have a cell phone shoved in their face. It's like, what is this? And they're like, sir, this is avocado toast. Toast! And like, that's hilarious.
Right.
That is fucking.
delightful.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say that I liked a couple of the songs that he's put out.
Yeah.
well,
I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't like it. But what a meme page.
Yeah,
Oh my
he's
god.
crazy.
well, he's great, right? Like, he's just been one of the best in music at breaking artists.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And like, if breaking artists isn't something that you're like speaking to or like researching how to do, you're not gonna get it done. Like, breaking an artist is something that I've studied, and I'm limited in my resources. So like, as much as I'm able to do, like, all money in, like, look at the magnitude that we've built with Clarq, in this situation, right? Like, give me a Hot 97 that really cares about its music community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let me walk into those doors.
Yeah.
Like in Albuquerque, a place like that. Like, let me walk into somewhere like that where they're like, yo, we want the hottest. We want not just what we think is the hottest. We want not just who's dick riding us, but like we want to really push people that are going to like break this city and make Albuquerque a place that like the majors look to and say, oh, they're in the future too. You know,
Yeah.
because objectively, Albuquerque's in the past. Like, we know that.
Well, it's like that
We know
in
that.
almost every
In
industry.
everything.
And that's what I love so
Everything,
much
right?
what's going on post-COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have experienced it too, is there is a class of entertainer in this city that are like, no, we can do better.
Right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
thank Christ that breweries and smaller venues have opened up their minds to
Right.
like, okay, there are actually entertaining individuals here, or
Yeah.
at least there are people who are actually trying.
Right.
100%.
Let's step up to the plate and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would, again, because I'm a little biased, I would love for there to be 5 open mics for comedy a night, like Austin, Chicago,
Atlanta,
LA,
bro.
New York, Atlanta. I
Yeah.
would love that. But you know what? I'm thankful for 5 mics in a week.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thankful.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Marble Brewery opens up their stage to almost any musician who wants to get booked there. Launchpad obviously is a little bit tougher. El Rey, Sunshine, a lot tougher. But like
Yeah.
the fact that local acts can get on stage,
Yeah.
like the fact that I've seen, and I'm sure you'll appreciate it because you're a metalhead. The fact that I've seen people like Mayo Cakes or the Slums of Harvard or the Red Light Cameras on Launchpad, and then I just saw Angel Maker at
For
Launchpad.
sure, yeah.
I fucking love
That's
that.
Yeah.
dope. Yeah.
It's the shit.
Right.
It
That
really
the
is.
fact that these local bands can share a stage or be on the same stage that, you know, nationally recognized bands can get on.
Yeah.
There's no real gatekeeping there. It's just a matter of business. Like, can you bring the people
Can you
in?
bring 'em? Yeah.
Can our liquor sales go up? All
Yeah.
right. We got you.
Man, and touching on that, bro, I feel like this was the first year that hip hop didn't have a #1 record.
I did not know that.
Yeah, bro. Like, hip hop is not dead, but we're tired of hearing, like, touching back to what I was saying, we're tired of hearing people talk about who y'all shot.
There hasn't been one hip hop record this year
Nope.
that hit #1.
No, I mean Kendrick maybe.
I was gonna say was that 22 that he put out?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
2022 they put out a
Yeah,
new album.
I think so.
Okay.
But yeah,
And
like,
to be honest, now that I think about it, the only hip hop album that I even heard about that came out this year was Black Mike's new
Okay.
record, which I loved.
okay.
But he's one of my favorites. But other than that, I don't know if I can name one.
You know?
like that, and then the freestyle that Kanye put out. Like,
So I'm speaking nationally, right? Because
Yeah.
it's gonna trickle down to locally. Like, post pandemic, everyone's throwing shows, but the shows that I'm putting on as well were like hitting every time, hit, boom, like always in the green. And then I just started noticing like other shows that I'm getting put on or other shows that people are booking, like people don't really want rap music right now in the same way. They want to dance and like be happy, like even for me, like, I fucking love rap music. I love all music, but I get tired of listening to rap sometimes.
Are you saying that in the?
I'm saying that in a sense that like music just has to keep evolving essentially. Like we just got to keep pushing forward because Albuquerque is like, from an idea standpoint, in my opinion, I think in the past, like, because it's a consumer city, like, so if we're just consuming, generally, like, as musicians and artists and comedians and photographers, like, we have a vision into the future. So, like, for instance, half the music that we're making now or going to put out now, we made last year. And it's not on purpose. Like, that's just how it goes sometimes. Like,
right.
Sometimes jazz's best shots may not like come out right away.
Right. Yeah.
Period. So when the consumer gets it, they're like, wow, this is hot right now. Even though it was hot for us when we made it a year ago.
I think
So
you're speaking to creatives just like constantly, like, we're already in the future.
we're in the
essentially,
future.
with
So
that.
I think I'm just trying to piggyback and tie this into like the support factor, Like we got to just like support the good shit because like if it's, I don't know, man, it's just, I kind of came loaded with like a whole bunch of ideas and I'm literally fresh out the studio. I just had a recording session today. So like my head is going everywhere, but because in this kid that I'm recording, he's just turned 20 like a week ago.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows who he is, but he's making fire. Like, literally baby Juice WRLD. Little baby Mexican Juice WRLD. I swear.
Insane.
You know?
Juice WRLD.
So good. Yeah.
Literally, Juice WRLD. Dead ass. I'm going to tell him that next time we get to session in, man. But no, shout out Vince, bro, because this kid works hard as fuck. He works harder than a lot of kids that I know, man. A lot of people I know, a lot of grown men that I know. This kid works way harder than y'all. Like, I met him at a Guitar Center, and this was like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And he was buying his first mic and his first shit and whatever. So I was like, yo, buy that. Don't buy that. Just avoid that. Right. And then he ends up hitting me on Instagram. And it was just like, yo, let me just do it with you. So
Talented,
you
raw.
know?
Speaking of, because we kind of full circle to talking about, that vulnerability factor and like really just speaking, like he's someone to watch.
Out the gate, he's just like pouring my heart out.
Just pouring it out,
Yeah.
and I really I respect that.
Right.
It might, we all are at, come to a stage where we have to push over that hump to grow and really expand our creativity and saying what we want to say, how we want to say it, and getting to that point. But when you have that natural ability to just pour it out and it just
cut
sounds,
through your own bullshit.
it just cuts
bro.
through and it sounds and feels so good. That's so special.
Well, and I think, because, how do I word this? So you said a little earlier that people are getting sick of hip-hop and rap because of what it traditionally has been. And then what I think is what people are really latching on to now is real poetry,
Just
real
feeling.
lyricism,
It's
like
feeling,
authenticity.
bro. Yeah.
And I think that's a direct, and it's good to hear that someone as young as 20 is really understanding that, because I think this is a direct response to social media, specifically to what TikTok has accelerated, where it's like this instant gratification, this instant dopamine and serotonin hits, where it's like you don't really think about it too much. It's instant, like it's like candy for your brain, over and over and over and over. There's no real thought process put into it. There's no real critical thinking put into it. So when you get something that's more hard to digest and you have to sit on it and think about it for a bit, it's like, oh, why did this make me feel something? Why does this make me cry? Why does this make me laugh? Why does this make me think these things, feel these things? And it's like, okay, that is what people are really looking for.
But they don't even know
they
that
just
they're
don't
looking
know
for
it.
it, though.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like we have such a huge responsibility as creatives, because
Yes.
it's like we can't just sit back and keep saying, oh, that's what people want. That's what people want. That's what people want. Because at the end of the day,
people want authenticity.
Right. But sometimes they don't know that.
They don't,
And as creatives,
Not
we gotta
consciously for sure, but
but we gotta push them there because like we know, like we're tapped into our emotions and ourselves and like our vision and things of that nature. So it's like,
well, I think people are starting to realize it, and I think it's coming to a head first and foremost in the film industry.
yeah,
I mean, we were talking about Marvel beforehand before this started. Marvel is actively failing, and I think a big reason for that is, and there's a whole insider baseball thing about it, but I think the overarching issue is they looked at 10 years, 12 years of just banger movie, and for whatever reason, the only thing they pulled out of that was, well, the CGI looked dope, there was a fight scene at least this many minutes, and then they took the studio notes out of it. Like we talked about a little bit way earlier. They're taking the studio notes out of it, the highlights out of it. But they didn't look at the meat and potatoes, like the actual soul.
the story.
People didn't latch on to CGI and action scenes.
No.
They latched on to characters they could project themselves onto.
Yeah, bro. The old Spider-Man, the first one.
Toby,
bro.
My boy.
Yeah, the Toby Spider-Man, bro.
my boy.
Yeah, man. Like those ones were good.
Well, there's a reason why people our age and older, when they went and watched No Way Home, when Tobey Maguire popped on screen, we had a fucking conniption.
We went nuts.
There's a reason. You know what I mean? It's like, first of all, you feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
It was like, these are renditions of characters. These are archetypes. These are through lines that we're able to attach ourselves to. And then when you take that away, but you just keep like the sugary, big colors, and it's like I'm a dork if you don't know this by now. Like this whole sleeve is superheroes. I've got
sick.
Toby right here.
Okay.
I love these characters, but even I'm going like, I'm not going to watch the Marvels.
Yeah.
I couldn't give two shits about the Marvels. And I'm looking at all these new movies and all these TV shows coming out. I used to feel an obligation. It's like, okay, maybe this one might not be good, but I loved it and this, that, and the other. Because I had an investment in these projects that are going to do what I love justice. Now it's like, No, not again. Like Ant-Man 3, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Was that the
Fucking
one with
Thor 4, go fuck yourself.
what was that newest Ant-Man? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's with Kang the Conqueror,
Yeah,
and Jonathan
yeah,
Majors,
yeah.
and I love Jonathan Majors.
You didn't like that one?
No, I hated it.
Okay.
I thought
it was cool. Maybe it's because I'm not attached to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hated that fucking movie. But but then it's like I see the creators behind them, like, you have the potential to do so much better. We talk about studio notes again.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is going on? So to bring this all wrapped around, I really think people are starting to realize they want authenticity.
Yeah.
And so the big institutions are going to fall first,
Yeah.
creatively.
Yeah, man, and I think where we sit in the mix is like, I don't know, it takes me back to the Edith house when we would just sit there and talk about like, nah, man, I just want it to be authentic, and you telling me like, I just want to be able to like pour my heart out in a way that feels authentic,
Yeah.
and you kind of being under my wing, watching me going through what I was going through at the time, like kind of at the end of that creative company, like trying to remain authentic to myself, you know, in the midst of a bunch of chaos, right? So it's like, yeah, authenticity has always been for me like my grounding point, because if ever I have writer's block, I will go back to basics. What the fuck did I eat for breakfast? Put that in a bar. Write about it. Write about what the fuck you just ate. Just write it. You know,
just
like
write
what am I
it.
wearing
Yeah.
right now? Two-tone jacket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How am I feeling
Like
right now?
right, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I think it's definitely like our responsibility, you know, and me personally, like I feel that because it's like so I was telling you earlier that I found my biological family on my dad's side. He was murdered when I was younger, but he was adopted by these two hippie old white people in Omaha, Nebraska, and so he never knew he was killed at 22, so he never knew where he came from or anything like that. And I think about that, and I'm like, dang, you know, I'm here, and he's not. Like I have to be true to that. I have to live authentically. You know what I mean? Like I have to, because he's not here to do that. You know. And then in connecting with my family, it's just you know, and they're all, that's been their life is, you know,
Touring and music
yeah. and playing what felt good. Mm-hmm. And they never, that's one thing my granddad, shout out Greg McFarland.
Shout out the McFarlands.
Yeah, all the McFarlands. That's one thing that he's, you know, we've only known each other personally. I've always known him in my heart and my spirit, but only known each other, you know, in person for a short time, a little over, not even a year at this point. I met him last December. But it's like, if you're not doing it to where like it feels good and it feels authentic and it feels real and you know, raw, it's like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You know, you're not going to be, like we talked about earlier, that puzzle piece in the bigger picture. So that's really what I'm aiming for, you know, with Hard Eyes and where we go in these next few projects, you know, that we're talking about. Like, just how does it feel? How is it going to hit? How is it going to resonate with people? What other ideas is it going to spawn? Who is it going to inspire to truly peel back the layers and unearth and reveal like their real self? You know what I mean?
What made you want to do the 23andMe? And what age did you do it at?
I did it
like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I did it a few years ago, probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And my grandma, she got it for my birthday because she was like, she knew that my dad, before, you know, he died, he wanted to know, you know, where he came from, and he was looking for his biological family. And so she got it for me. They send you the little box and everything with the tube, and you spit in it, like a lot. It takes a lot of spit. That was like honestly the craziest thing about that. I was like, dang, like I need to like get more spit.
Fuck, I need to drink more water. I'm a dehydrated person.
Then we're in the desert, you know, and it's like this big ass vial. So, you know, I fill it up, put it in the box, send it off. Had no idea what was going to happen. But I don't know. I wanted to know like where my roots were and everything like that. But I just I couldn't even fathom at that time what it was going to lead me to. And actually, after I took it, I saw these things simultaneously. I saw like the McFarlands popping up, but it wasn't on my mom's side. I saw a couple people on my mom's side because if someone else has taken a test, they'll show on your family tree.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's spooky.
It's creepy, right? I'm like, dang, I didn't know, cousin so-and-so had taken a DNA test or whatever. But they pop up, my cousin Lance and everybody. I was just like, dang. And then the McFarlands pop up on my dad's side. And I'm like, wow, this is insane. And simultaneously, I got a message on Instagram in my DMs. And it was Philip McFarland, who actually is the producer and a part of the really big reggae band Earthcry. And he reached out to me and he was just like, yo, cousin, like, what's up? Like, you popped up our Uncle Al is saying that you popped up on our 23andMe. Like, who are you? Like what?
An app?
Huh?
Hey, is like an app you popped up on?
Yeah, so there's a whole database
like
and profile.
Analysis.
Yeah, it connects you like,
and they notify.
It notifies people.
Ooh.
If you check it, people pop up and stuff. And so Al, who I now know is my uncle, I didn't know what the connection was, right? Because my dad was someone's love child from the McFarlands, but we didn't know. So my cousin was like, once I told him who I was, about how old I was, and started telling my dad, he's like, so his dad has to be one of these guys, but they're all musicians, so they're all touring and doing all kinds of stuff and sharing everything, including women. So no one knew who my granddad was. No one knew whose kid my dad was. Right. And so one of who I now know is my uncle Wayne, he was like, he looked like my dad. We started interacting and everything. And I'm like, you look like my dad so much. I sent them pictures of me and they were sending me pictures of the family and we all looked so much alike. They were like, oh, you're definitely a McFarland. And so Wayne kind of like claimed me right off the bat. He's like, yeah, that's my grandbaby. Flew us out. We performed at the Dakota Jazz Club in Minneapolis because that's where they're all at. And it was crazy because he's like, yeah, you got to meet your Uncle Greg. And I go and I sit down and because we're going with the assumption that Wayne's my granddad. But Scott and I sat down with Greg and something just like felt so familiar to me.
And he was connecting a lot of dots and triangulating his timeline.
Yeah, and he remembered. He was like, oh, Sherry.
I was too lazy to go to Walgreens that night and get a condom. God damn it.
He was like, oh, Sherry.
Oh, I know a Sherry.
Yeah. We was doing the thing and she just disappeared one day. And
shit.
She actually was messing around with my granddad, got pregnant with my dad. And, she's a white lady. This was back in the 70s in Omaha, Nebraska. Was about to have a black kid.
Shit.
Took the kid, gave my dad up for adoption. So he ended up at the Nebraska Children's Home. And so that, even just like unearthing all of that, it was just like, wow, and so I sat down with Greg and he was connecting the dots and I felt this thing inside of me. And so afterward, he went on and took a DNA test and it said, this is grandfather, like solidly, this is your grandfather. And that's how I found my like biological family. And they told me all the stories. I met my great grandmother, who they call her Queen Mother.
She has a
street named after her in Kansas City because she fed so many people and did so much work with the church, and that's how she earned that name. And yeah, she birthed 12 kids. So there's 12 of them. All
Jamaican.
She found out she's by Jamaican. Way of Jamaica.
I'm
right?
half Jamaican. She found out she's a little Jamaican.
Island girl, Yeah. So it was it's been amazing and I'm still, getting to know them. Like I said, we flew out to meet everybody in last December. I took my daughter to meet my granddad and the rest of my family, and she actually got to meet my great-grandmother, her great-great-grandmother. So 5 generations up.
Holy shit.
Because everyone's so young, right? Because they had my dad my dad had me at 16 and they had him at 16,
17,
17.
yeah.
So, and so on and so forth. So now generations up, she was still alive. So we got to spend time with her before she passed. And honestly, ever since I held her hands, like it just I haven't felt the same. Like she just like activated something within me that only, that crazy big ancestral power can.
Tell me
And
what
it's
she said when I met her.
He's like, she had Alzheimer's, right? So she's 99. But she's like, this your only baby? Because I introduced her to my daughter. She's like, this your only baby? I say, yes, ma'am, just one. She's like, you only got one baby? Because she got 12 babies, right? You only got one baby? And I said, yes, ma'am. She's like, oh, I know what your problem is. You ain't got no man. And I was like, Queen Mother, this is my man right here. She said, that big old man, he's too big for you. In front of everyone, right? Like, she's talking about how big he is. And I was just like, oh, Queen Mother.
Pleasure to meet you. Yeah, literally.
Right?
Literally.
Pleasure to meet you, man. So that was our introduction. A little fiery Jamaican woman.
That's awesome.
Badass, but...
a living piece of history.
Piece of history. She punched Prince in the chest,
punched
actually.
Prince in the chest and floored him.
Yeah. Put him on his back. Because...
I'm sorry, my brain immediately goes to Chappelle's show.
Yeah, when he's playing basketball.
Because is it Prince or Rick James who gets kicked through the window?
Oh, that might be Rick James.
That's Rick James.
Yeah.
Rick James gets kicked through the window, and then Prince is the
one
basketball.
in the basketball shirts and skins, right?
Blouses.
Blouses, yeah. So yeah,
she punched Prince at one point.
Yeah.
So I guess the story was Queen Mother would test the character of the young man who would be around her young men, her
She
boys.
was very protective.
So it's like, if I'm gonna punch you in your stomach, I'm gonna check you. Like,
if you come at me, you're not good
you're
people.
Not good people, yeah.
Right.
And he took it took it in stride. She said he got back up.
Is this Prince when he became Prince, or is it Prince before he was Prince?
As he was becoming Prince.
Yeah.
Like this was
Minneapolis.
Yeah, Minneapolis. That's where he's from.
So
Minneapolis.
when they make the big biopic about him, and there's no him getting punched in the chest.
They
by
didn't
a
include
beautiful
that
Jamaican
part.
woman. Hey, wait a minute, you fucks! I thought this was non-biased.
Yeah. He said, no, leave that part out. Leave that part out.
But
that is so awesome.
So I unearthed all of that, and I was thankful to have Scott there. My uncle Al is our family historian, and so he collects all of these stories and everything, and brings everyone together. And he actually has a news publication in Minneapolis, and he brought us on his show and everything, and we were able to talk about how we became connected, and it's just been a beautiful journey. I'm so thankful.
Fucking experience.
Yeah.
I think one of not the most beautiful part about that story is there's a lot of the way you tell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of healing there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's really brought me, when you don't know, it's so cliche. It's like, you got to know where you come from to know where you're going. Like, but it's not, you don't have to know where you come from to know where you're going. I feel like you have to know where you come from to help gain confidence in where you're going.
And stability. I mean, we're not meant to live in these bumbling metropolises with millions and millions and millions.
Yeah.
Right.
We humans, for the majority of our history, we lived in communities of 200 to 400.
Yeah.
And you knew
Close-knit.
everyone knew who everyone was, and you all got taught by the same people, and you all got fed by the same people. You learned to fight from the same people.
Yeah.
But now, where especially I think COVID really did reset a lot of things, where people realized like perspectives really got shifted.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what's important.
Yeah.
Community is important. Family is important. What's around me is important. And that really did just highlight a lot of what's really special about New Mexico is having that mindset. And I bring up how I can tell there's a lot of healing in that. And if you don't mind me asking, growing up without a father, especially now looking back on that as a full-fledged adult, was there any part of you that really looks back like, man, like maybe I did miss out on a bit of growing up, or maybe there's something that maybe I didn't know it at the time, but I really was longing for something.
Yeah.
And I ask it in that way because my father kicked me out of the house when I was 6, and then kind of waved in and out of my life up until I was
Wait, how do you kick a 6-year-old out?
apparently sent down in a Starbucks. That's how you do
Wow.
it. Yeah, very
Damn.
strange time. But he weaved in and out of my life until I was about 19, turning 20, and then left again. I haven't heard from him since. So,
Damn,
and
bro.
now I'm kind of starting to figure out, like, oh, maybe that's why I was growing up the way I was growing up. Maybe that's why I was acting the way I was acting. And now,
Yeah.
so I'm only 26 now. So
Yeah.
now as I'm starting to grow up, like actually grow up, and my brain is starting to fully form the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm really looking back on things through a different lens.
Yeah.
Is there any period for yourself where you're figuring that out? 'Cause that's effectively something you have to do on your own.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself doing that at all?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think honestly that's one of the big things about, that's shaped me for better or for worse. You have somebody that created you that, brought you, or contributed to bringing you through the portal of life, and they're not there. Like that's a part of you, have literally half of your DNA, your chromosomes that you don't get to connect with, that you don't get to, you know, bounce off of to help you come into yourself. You have you don't have a man there to, protect you. It shapes the way that you view yourself. It shapes the way you view the world, the way that you love, the way that you, pursue love, receive love, the way that you, it changes, it affects everything. I shouldn't say it changes one way or the other, but, and now as a grown woman, I look back and, I had a phase there, especially like in my early teen years where I was wildin' because I was just trying to feel, because in the absence of, for girls especially, I feel like, and I know this is true for guys too, but for girls especially, it's, there's a reason why they have jokes about like girls with daddy issues, right? Because it's like really a thing. And I actually kind of make a joke about it in my song 420. I'm like, this one goes out to all the girls with no daddies. And that. Yeah, and it's like kind of sad, but it's like funny when you hear, you're just like, oh, it kind of like gets you. But I put that in there because it's like you and you feel me, and a lot of people will feel me. It just impacts you in such a unique way. And so now I'm, a grown ass woman, and I look back at that and I'm like, damn, that's hard and it's painful. But in that absence, I was fortunate enough to make other connections. Like I have my grandfather, my mom's dad. I had, very close to my uncle. I was fortunate enough to have other like male figures, but it definitely, it fucked me up, and I'm still recovering in some regards, but learning to channel that and learning to, do that in a healthy way, and learning to, find myself through like the art I create and, connections that I make, So I hope that answers your question.
No, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think, and again, it's about as much as I can judge. I think
Yeah.
you're going about it the right way.
Yeah.
Because what's the alternative to that, right? Because people take a lot of things, 'cause life is hard on everybody.
Yeah.
And life will hand everyone a different set of cards and a
100.
different set of things that are in varying degrees that will either damage or help them.
For real.
And people ought to take a lot of their damages and they'll say, well, this is why I do blank. This is why I love blank. This is why I da-da-da-da-da. And they use that as a crutch.
Yeah.
But then there's other people, and you've clearly taken this route. It's like, well, yeah, this, and this happened. That's why it is more incumbent upon me to fill that hole and fill that gap. And if they're not going to teach me how to do it because of absence, or if this is not being afforded to me, well, then I got to figure out how to do it myself.
Yeah. And life will force you, it came to a head because I struggled with, anxiety, depression. I was on like crazy medications, like, to help my mood and all these things. I was on Adderall. I definitely
Which
was
is basically legalized meth.
taking way too much Adderall at a certain point because I was just like, they're just like, we just want you to feel like normal. And then it's like, what is normal? And then you're not, unpacking all the things that led to it. It's just this Band-Aid. And I'm not trying to speak negatively about the medication route for treatment.
But there is a lot of negatives that
yeah,
come with, and we learn
100%.
more and more. Like, so I'm sorry to cut you off. But like,
Yeah.
we learn more and more now about how negatively those affect. I was literally listening to an episode of. I was eating dinner before you guys came. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he had Tim Kennedy on, who's a MMA fighter, ex-Special Forces, crazy fucking guy. Awesome guy, crazy fucking guy. And they were talking about the consistency the common denominator, rather, that is with every mass shooter, 95% of them are on
Some type of
copious
meds.
amounts of antipsychotic and anti-anxiety medications. And then what's really shitty about it, if that wasn't enough, is the media, when they, specifically the left media, when it gets brought to their attention, they say, no, that's not true. Look at our statistics of mass shootings. And the number one shooting statistic they add to basically muddy the waters is gang violence, which are two completely separate instances of gun violence.
Yeah.
One is territorial, and again, it's not anything that should be glorified or it should be muddled down, but it is.
But we understand that.
Yeah.
It's a territorial dispute amongst not institutions, but like it's groups of people.
Groups of
It's like
people.
neighborhoods.
Groups of people, neighborhoods that hate each other.
And they may or may not know why anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Going back to tradition, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one is a clearly mentally ill individual who decides to strap up and go somewhere where nobody is armed.
Yeah.
Completely separate beasts.
Completely
And
different.
to confide the two and say, no, it's not antipsychotics and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
These medications have nothing to do with it. I was like, no, bitch.
Yeah.
Right.
It has something to do with it. And I just feel very strongly that, maybe that's your stepping stone into wellness, but
That's what it was for me.
Yeah, for me too. Yeah,
that's what it was for me.
It helped me to a certain extent, and then it just got to a point where I shouldn't say I broke, because I'm still here, so I didn't break, but I had a breakdown to where I just felt like a robot. I felt I was sleeping probably like 10 hours a week. I was just totally overworked. I just was a shadow of myself, and that once I had that breakdown, I was like, I have to heal myself. I can't keep relying on this crutch. It's like, okay, that worked for me long enough. Now what am I going to do? I have to take this into my own hands. So I changed my diet. I, started studying. I went internal and I started studying how to heal myself. And I started, practicing yoga and meditation and, doing the inner work. And, and I've been off of medication for years now.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And and that's the type of sort of people need to hear, because it's like, it's crazy how far wellness will take you. And for me, because I was on it's maybe for like a year or so, I was on Wellbutrin, and because I just dealt with severe depression and anxiety for the longest time, I didn't realize what it was until I was maybe like 22-ish, 21-ish is when I realized, like, oh, like, this is not normal.
Yeah. That's how it was for me.
Because, like, growing up, I grew up in a military school for high school and 2 years of college, and everyone around me was extremely tired, overworked, all these things of our schedules
Seems
being
normal,
so packed. So
right?
we're like, oh, yeah, we're all tired as what it is. But as my friends left, and then I left, it's like, oh, wait. And I'd have conversations with us like, hey, I still feel like the way I was back then. Like, oh, no, I mean, yeah, I'm tired here and there. But, like, no, I'm pretty cool. Life is all right. I'm like, oh, I might have issues. Yeah. And then so when I finally, like, had the means to do so, I got my blood work done. Yeah. Well, no, first I saw a shrink. And then they, of course, threw pills at it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And it worked for, like, 5 months, 6 months. And I was like, okay. it's cool feeling happiness, but then it's also this, I came with the realization, like, oh, this is a Band-Aid solution.
Yeah, yeah.
This is like synthetic happiness. This is not real.
It's not the real deal
Right.
because you're not dealing with like
The real
what
issue.
causes it. Like
Yeah.
something causes it for everyone.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
And-
then I was like, fuck this, I'm off. And I just went cold turkey. Thank God nothing bad happened. That was a very poor decision. I don't advocate for
Don't
going
do it.
cold turkey off
Titrate
meds.
off, yeah.
But I was like, fuck this, we're done. And I went and got my blood work done.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I had the testosterone levels of a 65-year-old man. Yeah. And that causes severe depression and
Yeah.
anxiety. And just to like gauge it for people listening, you know, and I had an extremely healthy diet. I exercise all the time. Like I haven't been in the gym right now for like 2.5 weeks, and that's the
Yeah.
longest I've gone in well over a decade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Easy. And I'm very healthy. I had a great diet, and this, that, and the other. Amazing girlfriend. All these things were going right, but I was still like, what the fuck is going on?
I still don't feel right.
Exactly. And so a guy my age is supposed to be anywhere between, you want to be between 9 and 1100 nanograms per deciliter, but
Okay.
600 is still okay.
Yeah.
I first got my blood work done and I was at 218, and they're like, that's not true. Okay, you get a good dinner beforehand, get a good night's rest,
Yeah.
get here early, your testosterone's high, there's no fucking way. I go back a month later, drop down to 185. And they're like, are you dying? Okay, come
what
back.
is happening
Come
here?
back in a week. And it dropped
Yeah.
down to 165. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Do you just, and they did it 2 more times, and it leveled between 165 and 172. And they're like, oh, okay.
That was still
and
off.
and the long story short is my care ended up scaling up all the way to the head of endocrinology because my case was so weird.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, have you ever abused opiates? Have you ever abused steroids? That was my favorite question to get asked because I'd look at myself like,
They're like,
yes,
you
I am
doing
so
that stuff?
I am so yoked. I am Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like
Yeah.
clearly I'm on fucking steroids. No, you fuck.
Yeah.
So they still couldn't find an answer for me.
Damn.
And so yeah, TRT became the lifestyle for a bit.
Yeah.
And then when my blood levels got normal and the wellness really came in, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, this feels amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy what happens when you take, obviously I had to go to a bit of an extreme point, unfortunately, but yeah, that's not, and it certainly wasn't taught during COVID. What was the lesson for COVID, right? It was go to the doctor, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And then sadly it turned out ventilators were killing people, but then still, what was it? Take the vaccine. And regardless of how you feel about it, not once was it told, hey, most of Americans are vitamin D deficient.
Right.
Yeah.
Most Americans are going to die of obesity.
Right.
You have a shit diet.
Yeah, most
you know?
Americans have
Yeah.
a shitty diet.
Yeah.
And then it's not told about how most of the cereals down the aisle are actually cancerous
Right.
Yeah.
to people.
BHT, all kinds
The
of
red
other
dyes,
shit.
red 40, or like, it's like red 40
yellow.
and yellow
Yellow
60.
6,
Yeah,
yeah,
Bro 6.
Or the 6, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck it is. So it's like none of that was propagated. And then if you even think about if you are someone with a big platform
Yeah.
and you saw a bunch of these guys that were like, hey, maybe you should take a walk around the block. Maybe you should try eating better. Maybe you should go to the gym when they
They
open
slap
back
a
up.
label on you like you're anti. This is like no, I'm pro.
You're
like
yep.
health.
You're promoting my favorite term was you're promoting vaccine hesitancy. Even I got flagged for that shit.
What a marketing
Wow.
yeah,
term.
the AI
That's
bots on
unfortunate.
YouTube went right after my ass. I'm
That's
like, yeah, you're
crazy.
promoting anti-science.
Whether you're getting it or not,
Yeah.
like we just have this weird thing where it's like well, it's not a weird thing. We know what it is. You know, it's
Well, I mean,
they want to make money, so
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
The science of going on a walk is tested. How is that? How is that anti-science?
So funny because before all of that, you know, Dr. Sanjay Gupta and all these doctors, you know, they have the specials where it's like the health corner and it's like, do this and feel so much better. Start your day off like this, right? But then when you talk about that in a different time, in a different context, it's like,
yeah,
whoa now.
do that.
the easily
You know?
corruptible. Talk
Right.
about Gupta, the
Right.
easily corruptible. I loved him going on Rogan.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that
I
episode?
didn't see that episode.
Yeah, because Sanjay Gupta is the guy from CNN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because he talk about easily corruptible, he went on CNN and became basically their mascot for the vaccine.
Yeah.
And Rogan had just gotten done having Dr. Robert Malone, who was the guy who had all the patents on the mRNA vaccine, and then he got in a lot of trouble for talking about the mass formation psychosis, and where he fucked up is very akin to where Kanye fucked up. He brought the Nazis into it.
Right.
If you just leave the Nazism
No,
out of it, it's gonna be okay.
Right.
But that's where this doctor fucked up. He was talking about how very much in the way the U.S. government's rolling out these different vaccines, different things, is very much the same with the propaganda people. And Joseph Goebbels really did the Third Reich under Hitler. And that's what got him in trouble and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
So then he has Gupta on the podcast, and the Fear Factor guy takes this doctor to school with just facts. Half that episode is Jamie pulled up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, I was wrong. Oh shit, he's right.
Yeah.
And then it's just interesting not to go down the conspiracy rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
It's all
But,
good.
you know,
it's not a conspiracy. I think
enough people think it and hear it and
It's-
believe it.
And,
Yeah.
it's connected to our greater conversation because it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's connected because there's truth. You know what I mean? And there's like, we're talking about like wellness, like what will make you well, no matter what your politics are or anything like that. There's like truth and there's facts and there's, like you said, like if people are experiencing things a certain way, like that's what it is. So yeah, I think, I don't even, I'm just like truth.
well, because like there were
truth.
some people in my office that were having a conversation about like what diets, because one of them started with diet. And like what diet's the best, this is the best.
Yeah.
And I walked out of my office, and I'm not like a fucking health guru. I know how to keep myself healthy enough.
Yeah.
I know how to be extremely unhealthy. God, one of the most unhealthiest things I ever did was do a bodybuilding show. That shit is unhealthy as fuck.
Yeah.
I was eating fucking 900 calories a day for
That's
12 days straight
wild.
while doing all this. Like, I looked like a fucking action figure, but I never want to go back to that again.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of my office, hearing them talk about this, and I was like, it's not that hard. Seriously, stop drinking soda. Stop drinking as much booze, right? Pick up heavy things. Do it safely. Take care of your cardiovascular health.
Yeah. Get sunlight.
And get sunlight. And
Ground
then it's like, as far as
yourself,
food goes, drink about a gallon of water a day, plus or minus, depending on what you're doing activity wise. Eat animals. Eat things that grow out of the ground. Cook them at home.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
We subscribe to all of that except the eat animals.
I've been plant-based like 12
Yeah.
years.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's what blows my
to
mind.
each their own.
Are the
right?
plant-based, like the plant-based and the vegan bodybuilders and like the fitness people that are just shredded
Just
to the
yoked.
gills.
Because you look
on
at gorillas.
no fucking
No
meat.
animal
Yeah.
proteins. Yeah.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing that?
12 years for me.
I'm at 6.
Holy,
Yeah.
I tried it. Me and my
Alfalfa,
ex-
bro. You need alfalfa.
Me and my ex
Did you guys
tried
try
it
it?
for a night.
Yeah.
And we were like, fuck, can't do it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where, I think a lot of people like have their, beliefs and, certain idiosyncrasies or conspiracies or whatever you want to call it. But everybody, you just got to do you. Like, when do we get to the point where everybody can't just like
Live
be
their lives.
themselves and like live their lives? Obviously, there's a line where you need not cross it, do no harm. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to live my life to no harm of anyone else. But I think, relating that back, that was actually my point earlier, relating that back to creativity, it's like we all have to be able to express ourselves. And that's literally what art is. I don't care if you might not like what Kanye says or the next guy says, but the art is undeniable.
Yeah.
Like, the art is timeless. The art speaks for itself. The art has changed lives. The art has changed minds. And so, that's why I'm like, and I look at it like I'm, like I said, a student. Like, everybody's a reflection of me. I don't have to hear what you say and it be different from what I'm saying and balk at that or criticize or anything. I can just say, interesting. I never
And
looked
there's
at it
something
that
to learn
way.
from.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're completely fucking right. I gotta ask, where do you guys get your protein sources from? No, I'm being 100%
So-
serious.
That's a very common question, but a good question.
For me, I don't think about it. I literally don't even think about it. I had to redefine it for me. Aminos and minerals.
Yeah.
I don't even really, because vitamins, you pee those out.
Yeah.
But everything is based off of minerals.
So sea moss.
You know,
Yeah.
sea moss is one of the most mineral dense things you can put in your mouth. Alfalfa, I'm recently learning that is one of the most. They feed horses alfalfa when they're trying to bulk horses up for races. You know, so I looked to the animals in nature that don't eat meat but are ginormous. Gorillas, rhinos, giraffes, fucking horses.
Yeah.
None of them eat meat, but
Right.
some of the strongest beasts on the planet, right?
Right.
So, you know, do you?
So what is like a daily, like, generally speaking?
I intermittent fast. I don't eat until like 1, maybe 2 sometimes, and then from there it's like truly just I keep it simple, like veggies and rice, or veggies and beans, or veggies and something, right?
We eat a lot of beans. Beans are a great source, you know.
Yeah.
So like lentils,
Legumes.
mung beans.
Mung beans, yo.
Mung beans are like what
40-something grams
and
of
they're
protein raw.
delicious.
And
Yeah.
mung beans?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
mung beans.
M-U-N-G?
Yeah.
Or
M-O-O.
M-O-O-N-G.
M-O-O-N-G.
Yeah.
I never pull out my phone during a podcast. Can you hand me my phone really quick?
Yeah, man.
Because what I like doing is like I'll make like little bowls for myself and stuff,
Yeah.
and so I can have a protein source
Yeah.
outside of whether it's like my ground beef or like bison or fish or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'll add beans to it.
Yeah.
So
Do you like
mung
chickpeas?
beans.
Mung beans.
Yeah, I do.
We eat a lot of chickpeas. I love chickpeas.
A lot of avocado.
A lot of avocado because you need those, those healthy fats. So we do that. It's just a lot of leafy greens, a lot of
Beans and rice is a complete protein.
yeah. So combining those two
Yeah.
together, that grain and that bean,
It creates the complete amino chain.
don't get me wrong. Like I will
Interesting.
go down through some pasta, some
Yeah.
good veggie pasta or a good like risotto. I love
Oh
bread.
yeah, we pandemic. I learned how to make a bunch of shit. Like I'm the chef in the house, you know. So like risotto was a go-to for a while, or I'm like, got the
And you just throw whatever veggies. you got in it.
mushrooms
Yeah.
or peas or
Yeah.
asparagus, whatever,
Yeah.
So lots of things that most people eat just renditions differently,
Yeah. I think if you're just so focused on, I don't want to eat meat, and you kind of come from that like more like judgy place, it makes it, I don't know,
harder.
I feel like it makes
think
it
it makes it
harder.
harder.
Yeah,
It's just
for
like,
sure.
just eat well, eat what your body responds well to, because it's going to be
Yeah.
different. Like, even though we're both plant-based, our bodies are set up differently. Like, I have an extremely fast metabolism, so you have to take that into account. But most of all, like he was saying, you want to make sure that you're getting your nutrients, your minerals, you're drinking a lot of water, you're staying hydrated so that your body can process whatever it is that you put
So you can
into
literally
it.
digest properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one thing is, I don't believe in diets because I don't like saying things that make me feel like I'm telling myself that I'm depleting.
Right? That's in
I,
there.
I say lifestyles, like I live a plant-based lifestyle,
Yeah.
So just like speaking things into existence, speaking positively over
Right.
myself, a lot of those things I feel like helped me keep the discipline to stay plant-based, you know?
What would you say is the most like calorie dense meal that you'll have on a
That's a
Calorie
tough one
dense?
too because I haven't counted a calorie in like a decade.
or I
you know?
guess filling it? And I ask just
filling?
because like a curiosity
filling
thing, and then
standpoint?
also because like you're saying with your fast metabolism, you do need more calories in to
Yeah.
help yourself feel full and like
I feel like a chickpea or rice base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you fuck with shepherd's pie?
yeah.
I do a vegan version where it's literally
Okay.
just like the best mashed potatoes you've ever had and the best sauteed veggies you've ever had, and then I put them in this glass bowl and I just bake it.
And
you know?
cover. We can't forget the mushroom
Oh
gravy.
yeah, the
though.
mushroom
The
gravy with like some
is
green chili gravy.
slapping.
Just throw that on there because for her especially, she's got the fast metabolism and she goes to the gym more than me. So I try to keep her like, stockpiled with the tasty comfort foods in a
Right.
vegan rendition. There's another meal that she likes, the sun-dried tomato pasta.
yeah.
That sounds
Oh,
bomb.
and
Yeah.
That sounds
the
bomb as
dish
fuck.
that we'll fast for a few days, and your body needs like to get that iron and stuff. So one dish is like okra, burdock root, with a chickpea base. So now you have like your protein, you got your iron, you got the aminos and everything in there. That's a really good
Interesting.
And okra is
power-packed
great for like
meal.
detoxing too.
Yeah.
All that like
That's what I've heard.
yeah, like that slimy mucousy membraney stuff
Very
that
good
everybody
for you.
hates. It actually attaches to all the toxins as it passes through.
Helps your
And
like
you
your
expel all
colon,
that,
like
yeah.
everything, like good. And chili. Chili's known
Green
for
chili.
that.
Yeah, I put
We
green
put chili
on
on everything.
Everything, bro. Being vegan didn't change that.
And honestly, like that's why I say like no judgment, because I will fuck up some enchiladas, with the cheese. And every
Yeah.
now and then I'm a little naughty, to have some cheese. Don't come for me, vegans. Don't come for me. But we're just proponents of like, and that's why a lot of
Wellness.
people won't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wellness. I'm not gonna like judge you or anything like that, because everybody's body's different, and
Right.
what works for you works for you. I've seen some.
And you both seem extremely healthy. You
Yeah.
both look great. It's clearly
Thank
working
you.
well for you.
Man,
and then
I've-
you hear like about the extreme opposites, like
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson and his daughter. They only eat meat,
Yeah.
and it cured their autoimmune disease.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Meat
wild.
and salt, and I think she's starting to do like a little because the food like journey and lifestyle they've had to be
Yeah.
on for the last like 15 years, I think 12 or 15 years, has fascinated me.
Yeah.
Fascinated me.
It
And
is.
so and she's barely starting to add a little bit of fruit, and it's
Yeah.
working well with her body.
Yeah.
I think it's geographic too.
Yeah.
You know,
All
you
of
got to
those
follow
play a
follow the
factor.
DNA. Like,
Interesting.
if your DNA comes from a place that's not tropical, your DNA is probably not fit for a mostly fruit diet.
Yeah, fruits,
You know,
veggies.
like if
Yeah,
your
that makes
DNA
sense.
is like more so like European and a place where like, the resources there are probably were circumstantially, made it so people did have to eat more meat.
Hunt.
Right.
You gotta
Hunting
hunt. You
and
gotta,
livestock
Yeah, you
primarily.
need that.
Yes,
Yeah,
literally all
yeah.
that. Like places in Europe, they got more dairy in their diet than places in
Like-
Asia or
or the
things like that, or the
Mediterranean.
Mediterranean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's for me, it's geographic. That's why I can't judge anybody. I know for me, my tropical blood, like I could only eat fruit.
You
and be
need
good.
some sourstop. You need
Yeah.
some melon. You
You know?
need,
Like why I
For sure.
literally there's a minute in my life where it was like my mid-20s where literally I was like a fruitarian for the most part, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh
For
shit.
the most part, and it just felt good to me. I just felt so electric and alive and like light, you know what I mean? Like think about like a car. Like if I gave you the keys, like yo, here's your new car, but secretly if you put the right fuel in it, that motherfucker flies.
Yeah,
What are you
it
gonna
won't
go
just
do?
drive.
You know,
Yeah.
you gonna just stay driving, or you gonna
Yeah.
start flying because you now know that you can fly. That's how it felt for me. I was like, dang, I've been driving about 30 miles an hour my whole life, and now I'm fucking flying.
Yeah. You got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
That's a
Like,
beautiful way of
yeah.
putting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For real, that's fucking sick.
Yeah. So that's part of the wellness journey, honestly.
So before we get out of here,
Yeah.
what is next for the both of you
Mm-hmm.
as far as the music journey goes, producing journey? What's next for you guys? What can you talk about? I guess.
Yeah. That's
Shoot, well, we got, oh man,
you gonna say.
we got a lot of music coming out.
Yeah.
I haven't dropped an album since Soup Season, which was like my pandemic vomit of music. And then, she hasn't really dropped a project since Hard Eyes, so we both got projects coming for sure. Excuse me.
No, you're good.
There's some collaborative projects coming, both familiar and new. We'll be tapping into some kind of new genre things that are more closer to my influences as
I love it. I love
know.
the way you're rolling it out.
Yeah, so it's a lot coming,
Yeah.
2 projects for sure and a whole bunch of singles. Definitely more videos, but
The visuals, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the visuals. If you haven't seen the Manifest video,
Oh, yeah,
shout
go
out
see
to
that.
Jared Silva.
shout out Jared Silva.
Yeah, for
Appreciate you
sure.
for being such a great teammate in that one.
Yeah, so lots of stuff coming. Mostly, we're just steady working. We got some shows coming up. We'll be at Electric Playhouse and
Oh yeah.
some other
November
things.
10th. I hope you can make it there.
That'd be sick.
Sister Bar.
Yeah.
I'll put
Okay.
you on the list if you like.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Got some of my homies from LA coming back. Kali's gonna be back in town. Rakim's gonna be back in town. So it's gonna be kind of
gonna
like
be
a
great.
little homecoming, like
Yeah.
album release for Rakim. But my young bros, bless me with a slot on their show, so to speak.
They're like, come on over here.
Yeah. So
shows
it's honestly,
coming.
it's really rewarding. Honestly, and now this is just a side note. It's really rewarding to like help kids make music on their own and put them on shows, and then they end up moving out of state and then come back home and put me on their show. it's super rewarding, you know?
Yeah,
So,
because you taught him.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
like again, giving people fishing poles. I'm not gatekeeping nothing. If you got a question for me, I'll answer it. You know,
Yeah.
if you want the sauce, I'm gonna dish it out. Period.
That's fucking awesome.
Come get a session.
That is,
Better
that
sense.
is awesome,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Well, thank you to you both for coming and doing this.
For sure, no. I
This
appreciate
has
you, bro.
been a absolute blast.
Yeah, it really has. It's been great connecting with you. Thank you so much for having us.
This has been a pleasure.
Let's do it again.
I would love to.
Soon.
I would fucking love to. Again, thank you guys for coming. Thank you everybody for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. That's awesome.